All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. You're watching KBC Channel 1. My name is Mike Migwe. Of course, we are glad that you have chosen Good Morning Kenya to start your day, and we promise to bring you up to speed with what is happening in and around the country and further afield. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours, and yesterday actually the president disbursed over 700 million to over 14,000 youths in Nairobi, Kajiado and Kiambu in the ongoing Nyota program that aims to empower the youths between the age of 19 to 29 in a bid to stem unemployment. That was happening yesterday in Kasarani, and also still when you look at matters education, still there is a big number of grade 10 learners who are still stranded at home despite the government ordering for a mop-up exercise to ensure that all learners get to school, and especially grade 10. And also there were some public transport operators whose licenses were suspended because they were found guilty of the fatal crashes over the Christmas period or the December holiday. You know, that is part of what is happening. But today I want us to look at something different, but within the sphere of politics, intergenerational politics, which I think in Kenya and East Africa transcends slogans to include or represent matters to do with political voice, policy priorities, even in leadership, given that now we are having a youthful generation, which is actually a majority. So it begs two very important questions. Is there a conflict between generations in terms of how they look at leadership and how they look at politics, and or can political continuity and reform coexist and enhance a stable democratic system? That is a conversation I'll be having by Senior Counsel Charles Kanjama, who is an advocate of the High Court, and also Honorable Leo Wamuthende, who is the MP Mbeere North, and also Davis Oluoch, who is from the ODM Youth League. That is a conversation that will be coming to you later on in the program. Good morning, Marie.
Morning to you, Mike.
How are you doing?
I'm well, and you?
I'm great.
Umerauka?
Nimerauka vizuri, even though sometimes waking up can be an extreme sport.
You're saying?
I'm saying waking up early sometimes can be an extreme sport.
It is, I think. It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
You know, by 5 o'clock, you're actually out, not necessarily
You're on the road,
in the house.
Actually. You're on the road, yes.
But nice to see you this morning. Very good morning, of course, to all of you joining us from wherever you are. My name is Maria Mbwen. I'll be bringing you up to speed with Matters News. And just to chime in, Mike, in as far as your topic today is concerned,
yes.
Intergenerational
politics.
Politics.
Is it a matter of conflict or continuity?
I think there's a conflict.
Conflict?
Yep.
There's a conflict from
the young generation.
The young generation and the older experienced generation of politicians.
Yes.
And I think it's a matter of perspectives.
Think so?
That is what we are going to explore.
I think the young people do not believe in, I don't know they say democracy and all this, because it doesn't really bring change. You know, you're told go to vote. Yeah. You'll get the leaders that you want. Yeah. They'll deliver for you what you probably want,
Yes.
but that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
And it's been happening for years and years. You know, so I think there's a conflict in the sense that they do not believe in this kind of leadership anymore.
Yes.
And that is why they do not show up for voting.
And actually, you know, the conflict may stem from the fact that continuity now enhances, quote unquote, status quo, which now the youth want to change from their own way of doing things, from how they understand leadership, politics, and governance. And I think that is what is bringing that conflict. If you look at ODM, there's something that is going on. You look at the younger generation of upcoming leaders and the way of doing things of the more experienced leaders, even the party leaders. I think there's a tiff there, but that is what we are going to explore and find the way forward.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there is need to embrace quite a number of things, technology and all that.
Yes.
No longer do they want to go queue, they no longer do they want to just be able to perform whatever it is right from, you know, where they are. And I don't think that is just for the young people. I think that's where the world is right now.
Yes.
So it will be interesting to listen to that particular discussion with your guests. But all that said and done, let's get to the news, where over 700 million shillings was disbursed on Monday to over 14,000 youth from Nairobi, Kajiado and Kiambu counties under the National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement at the Kasarani Stadium. President William Ruto, who oversaw the disbursement at the Moi International Sports Center Kasarani, said the initiative is designed for young Kenyans between 19 and 29 years and aims to expand access to capital and accelerate youth-led enterprise growth.
President William Ruto on Monday was at the Moi International Sports Center in Kasarani to oversee the Nyota Business Startup Capital Disbursement Program for the metropolis counties of Nairobi, Kiambu and Kajiado.
Waswahili wanasema hayawi hayawi ni leo si leo.
Each beneficiary is entitled to 50,000 shillings released in phases. Monday, the beneficiaries received the first installment of 25,000 shillings. Of this amount, 22,000 shillings is deposited directly into Pochi la Biashara accounts to support immediate business operations, while 3,000 shillings is credited to beneficiaries' Haba na Haba savings accounts under the National Social Security Fund, encouraging long-term financial security.
Kwa muda mrefu program za serikali zilikuwa zinaangazia watu wenye masomo, watu ambao wako na ujuzi, na hii Nyota program inaleta inclusivity katika mambo ya kusaidia vijana wetu wa taifa letu la Kenya.
Mimi tunawauliza kwa unyenyekevu, wakati leo utapata pesa yako, iwe ni pesa yako ya kufanya biashara wala usifanye mambo mengine tofauti.
The head of state noting that under the broader Nyota framework, youth will have access to short-term certification courses structured on-the-job training and mentorship with master craftsmen and women. These opportunities come with monthly stipends and government-funded certification to strengthen practical skills.
Tuko na vijana walimaliza shule, tuko na vijana hawakumaliza shule lakini hawana skill, hawana course, hawana ujuzi yoyote. Hawa vijana 90,000 tunataka tuwatafute, tumewaambia wajiandikishe kwa mtandao. Hawa vijana tutawachukua, tutawalipia pesa ya kufanya mtihani, tutawalipia pesa ya kufanya course, na tutawapatia pesa kila mwezi shilingi 6,000 waweze kwenda shuleni na kurudi nyumbani mpaka wapate ujuzi in 6 months.
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja said all youths who received the Nyota funding will have their business permits waived for the first 2 years and urged them to utilize the money well and not view it as insufficient.
Ile biashara utaanzisha, tuna waive all business permits. Business permits, licenses, hakuna kunyanyaswa na kanjo, sa ile umeingia kwa hii system.
For many of the young people present, the day marked a turning point. Beneficiaries expressing optimism, saying the project is real and that the money will go a long way in helping them to be financially independent.
I am a businessman who anafuga kuku. So natumaini kuanzia leo stock yangu nitaongeza stock.
For this money, naweza anza sasa kinyozi dogo hivi, nianze biashara, nianze kujikuza from retail, niende hivyo kama nimepanda.
Your Excellency, tutahesabu 3 in 3, 2, 1. Pesa mfukoni!
Launched in November 2025, the Nyota project targets vulnerable young people with little or no formal education as part of the government's strategy to address youth unemployment through entrepreneurship.
The Independent Policing Oversight Authority has launched investigations into a shooting incident allegedly involving some police officers from Karatina Police Station in Nyeri County on Sunday. In a statement, IPOA chairperson Isaac Hassan says the investigations will center on circumstances that led to the fatal shooting of George Gathu Maderi after an alleged brief confrontation with the officers.
IPOA has now moved in to investigate an alleged shooting incident at Karatina, Nyeri County, where one person lost his life. Reports from IPOA indicate that during the 18th January incident at around 11 p.m, Judge Gathu Maderi is said to have had a confrontation with police officers on patrol before being fatally shot. Following the incident, aggrieved residents barricaded the Nairobi-Karatina highway and paralyzed the smooth flow of traffic while at the same time vandalizing nearby businesses. A rapid response team from the regional office in Nyeri has been dispatched to commence investigation and gather all relevant intel to establish the circumstances surrounding the unfortunate incident. The scene of crime has since been seized to collect crucial evidence for forensic and ballistic analysis. While condoling with the family of the late Maderi, the authority is appealing to members of the public to be calm and eyewitnesses to present any information that may aid the ongoing investigations.
Operating licenses of 4 major public transport operators have been suspended by the National Transport and Safety Authority. The decision follows a series of fatal crashes during the December festive season. The authority says the operators violated safety regulations, failed to comply with the law, and breached the Code of Operations. In suspending the operating licenses of the 4 major PSVs, NTSA warned that the move is part of an ongoing effort to curb road carnage. NTSA says the operators failed to adhere to speed limit regulations, ignored safety audits, and violated key operational conditions. The 4 transport operators include the Guardian Coach Limited, Nanyuki Express Cab Services Limited, Mona Comfort Sacco, and Green Line Company Limited. The Guardian Coach Limited operators were found guilty of fatal crash on the 6th of January 2026 at Kimende along Nairobi-Naivasha Road. They have 21 days to comply or risk the withdrawal of their licenses. 24 vehicles belonging to the company have been directed to be presented for speed limiter checks, with 18 drivers suspended for 90 days and required to go for a retest. Nanyuki Express Cab Services Limited, that caused a fatal crash on the 4th of January 2026 at Karai along Nakuru-Nairobi Highway, has also been suspended, 128 vehicles to undergo speed limiter checks, and 26 drivers suspended for 90 days. Mona Comfort Sacco caused a fatal crash on the 23rd of December 2025 at Muhonje along Eldoret-Webuye Road, with their operations suspended immediately. 19 vehicles from the company are to undergo compliance inspection and drivers suspended for 90 days. On the 4th of January 2026, at Karai along Nakuru Highway, the Green Line Company Limited caused a fatal crash with their operations suspended immediately. 33 vehicles to undergo compliance inspection and 29 drivers suspended for 90 days. NTSA has also issued strict night travel safety conditions, including mandatory fatigue management systems, passenger manifests, and compliance with night route licensing. The authority has warned that any vehicle found operating despite suspension will be impounded by the traffic department. The public has been advised not to board vehicles belonging to the suspended operators as NTSA continues to crack down on reckless and unsafe transport operations. The head of public service, Felix Koskei, has launched the current development strides, has lauded the current development strides in the country, saying Kenyans can witness the transformation firsthand. Speaking in Vihiga County, Koskei said President William Ruto has demonstrated his clear plan to change Kenya for the better, and hence he deserves a second term to complete his development agenda.
The head of public service, Felix Koskei, who was in Hamisi, Vihiga County, for the burial of David Imbunya, a brother-in-law of Permanent Secretary Dr. Jane Imbunya, said the president was working overtime to ensure Kenya realizes its development goal. Koskei, while pitching for a second term for the president, said the country was witnessing change which can be felt in every corner and that there's need to allow President Ruto continue and finish what he started.
Ili serikali iendelee vile PS amesema hapa, ilete sitima, ilete maji, ilete mambo kama hiyo ya maendeleo. We have to be serious as a country. We have to be serious as citizens.
The head of public service raising concerns over increased cases of illicit brew and drug abuse in the western region, describing the menace as the #1 enemy of the country, warning that if left unchecked, there'll be no future generation.
Hii pombe ni dawa mbaya, ni chemicals mbaya. Inaumiza mwili, inaharibu akili, mpaka jamii yote inakwisha. So ninawaomba watu wa Vihiga, watu wa Western na Kenya nzima ya kwamba let us be decisive and say no to illicit alcohol.
Vihiga Women Representative Dr. Beatrice Adagala, who was present, lamented the deterioration of security in the county, citing the recent killing of 2 women whose bodies were found dumped in a septic tank in Bale Township.
Mambo ya drugs and substance abuse, we are experiencing insecurity kwa sababu watu wamepotelea kwa bangi, watu wamepotelea kwa pombe haramu, na wakivuta bangi wanaanza kupiga wakina mama mangumi, wanaanza kukatakata wasichana.
She further noted that several boda operators have in recent months been attacked, robbed of their motorcycles and killed, and called on security agencies to move with speed and apprehend the culprits.
A look at business now, where it will cost you 9 shillings per share to buy a stake in the Kenya Pipeline Company, where the government is selling 65% of its stake through an initial public offer. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says the government targets to raise 106.3 billion shillings from the share sale, which will be used as seed capital for the National Infrastructure Fund.
Safaricom was the last state-owned enterprise privatized through an IPO 17 years ago. And beginning Tuesday, 11.8 billion shares of Kenya Pipeline Company are on sale.
It is with great pleasure that I present to you this information memorandum for the offer for sale of 11,812,644,350 ordinary shares of Kenya Pipeline Company.
Under the proposed initial public offer of the Kenya Pipeline Company shares, retail, institutional, East African community and international investors have each been allocated 20% of the shares on sale, while all marketing companies have been earmarked 15%, and the remaining 5% is for Kenya Pipeline Company employees.
The government of Kenya is still going to continue to hold 35%. So we are offering 65%. And out of that 65%, as a percentage of it, the staff of the company will have 5% of the ownership offered to them. The oil marketing companies, 15%. The local retail investors, 20%.
Investors will be required to buy at least 100 shares at a cost of 900 shillings in the month-long share sale that begins on Tuesday.
What we call democratizing wealth. And we are democratizing ownership of KPC.
Proceeds from Kenya Pipeline Company share sales will be used as seed capital for the National Infrastructure Fund, with expansion of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and energy projects prioritized.
Kenya has been the logistic hub, identified even by the UN. But we cannot continue retaining that privileged position if we don't take action on our airport. And that airport must be done.
Kenya Pipeline Company posted a net profit of 7.49 billion shillings in the 2024-2025 financial year.
Kenya Railway is procuring more passenger rolling stock to serve newly reopened and repaired routes amid rising demand for transportation. Kenya Railway's Managing Director Philip Mainga says the rehabilitation of the Nairobi-Nanyuki, Nairobi-Kisumu and Nairobi Metropolitan Railway network has necessitated an increase in passenger coaches capacity.
Rail transport is expected to reduce road congestion and enhance trade, with the meter-gauge railway moving over 1.029 million tons of cargo in the 2024-2025 financial year. To enhance capacity, Kenya Railways has been repairing, reopening and setting up more routes on the meter-gauge railway network. However, the demand is outstripping current capacity of wagons and passenger coaches.
Currently, the demand for our coaches, the one you see here, these ones actually are the ones for Western Kenya. But the demand for these coaches is now overwhelming. We don't have enough stock. Obviously now we look it through the government on how to increase the numbers.
Kenya Railways says new wagons will boost efficiency and connectivity. Speaking during the inspection of the Uplands Kijabe-Longonot railway line, whose operations were halted during the April 2024 rains, Kenya Railways Managing Director Philip Mainga said resumption of the service will boost passenger and transportation of farm inputs, farm produce, steel products and containerized cargo movements.
Totally to around 12 kalufats in total along the entire section. All of them have been done. What does that mean to us today? This is our final inspection to give a clean bill of operation for our line from today. And shortly after this train leaves, cargo trains are behind. They are now coming to pass through this section.
About 12 kilometers of the railway line along Kijabe was washed away, rendering the line impassable. The incident affected rail transportation between Mombasa and neighboring countries.
To restore all the operations for MGR from here to the region, and I have said earlier, the region has been waiting for us to open this. Our customers have been asking us when we are opening the line, and we are happy to have been inspected today and to tell our customers we are ready to resume operations as from today.
Full restoration of the railway track is complete. Protection works and training works will continue, even as train operations commence within the section.
I look at sports now, where the Kenya Rugby Union has confirmed a major boost ahead of the HSBC SVNS2 tournament, announcing partnerships with M-Pesa, SportPesa, Crown Paints and Tusker. The sponsorship deals come as Kenya prepares to host one of the region's biggest rugby events, scheduled for the 14th and 15th of February. The tournament is expected to attract top rugby talent from across the world, further cementing Kenya's growing profile on the global rugby stage. KRU recently secured the hosting rights for the competition, which will feature 12 teams battling for promotion in both the men and women's categories. In the men's competition, hosts Kenya will face the United States, Uruguay, Germany, Belgium and Canada, all of whom qualified through the SVNS3 pathway. The women's tournament will see Kenya compete against Brazil, Spain, China, South Africa and Argentina, also qualifiers from the SVNS3. KRU chairperson Harriet Okach expressed appreciation to all partners and stakeholders, including the government of Kenya, while calling for continued support as the country prepares to deliver a successful international rugby event.
It's humbling, it's huge for us because this is the first of its kind. It's not easy to be able to bid for such an event when it comes to World Rugby and actually get it. It took in a lot of late nights, a lot of calls, a lot of meetings just to be able to get to where now we are hosting.
We are rallying and calling people to come. This is the first time ever, number one. This is historic, like it's never happened here. And the boys are playing, so it's a big deal. It's like really, really exciting. So we want people to come. I think it's the best gift we could actually give the sport and the boys.
New signing Yves Jr. scored an 83rd minute equalizer to salvage a point for defending champions Kenya Police against Nairobi United in their FKF Premier League game that ended 1-1 yesterday. After a goalless first half, Nairobi United went ahead courtesy of an own goal from an Ovela Ochieng across into the box in the 69th minute, but they could not hold on to that lead, sleeping with only 7 minutes left on the clock to Yves' equalizer. The draw leaves Kenya Police on the 5th position on 25 points, 8 points behind leaders Gor Mahia and 1 point above 7th placed Nairobi United.
Yves Kotiama anarudisha mchezoni mafanda Kenya. Combination nzuri kati yake na Edwin Mondi Otieno.
Well, that's where we bring the news to a close this morning. As always, thank you for your time and your company. My name is Mariam, and of course, my colleague Mike Megwe is on standby, and we'll be continuing with the Good Morning Kenya show. Stay tuned for more news updates during the day. Good morning.
True love never fails. It never dies. It only fights harder.
Rebecca, just one chance. Give me one chance and I promise you this is going to work out.
Color of Passion, where love, family, and destiny collide.
Didn't I tell you to shut up?
We rewind, retake all the moments, and begin from the top.
I don't care, but for me, that's not right.
From the heart of Mexico comes the story where love burns brighter than the morning sun and jealousy hides behind every smile.
It seems that you're madly in love with him, or maybe you're just desperate to get married. That's why you grabbed someone you barely know.
Passion becomes both a blessing and a curse.
I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo.
We start all over again, from the top.
Friday night again. Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
And we had the Jamhuri Festival going down over there, where we had the likes of Tipsy G performing.
Voi Town came alive as the Jamhuri Festival transformed Club Shalex
Mario, all the way from Tanzania. I told you, this is the only show that you get to meet these superstars.
Sasa nimekujaga hapa Kenya nikafanya hii sound ya pamoja na kina Sean ile na kina Saru. Umeona hivyo kubali. Nilikutana naye Kilimani, Nairobi.
You might or might not love Shrap, but like any music genre, the diamonds are beneath the surface.
Hey, mister, don't keep your distance. Fikran, doktor fanya victim.
Emergency operation. I need to go now.
The president didn't answer the phone.
We've encountered this situation in China before. The doctor there sewed a biofilm on the patient's abdomen. After the swelling subsides, we can completely close the abdomen.
Shan came all the way here to see you. It's clear she's doing all she can do. What more do you want? Don't think she's weak and can't live without you.
What's wrong?
I don't see Jiang Yao.
Did they disappear?
When I woke up at 5 a.m., I couldn't find Jiang Yao.
Etsy and check over there.
Jiang Yao, Mama 舅子. Jiang Yao.
Kila siku baba, kama nina shughuli zangu, yani hii nyumba siku hizi mtu hawezi kufanya shughuli zake. Siku hizi mashaka kila siku. Basi hata ukitoka useme. Niseme nini? Kwani mimi ni mfungwa? Kama nilimwacha nyumbani, sasa kunisamea nyumba kitu.
Nitakusomea, wewe ni nani wewe?
Hata nilifa, mimi ni wakati gani?
Mdomo mrefu kama nini wewe? Mbona tabia zako ni mbaya hivi? Kwani huyu mtoto saa yote akisemeshwa, yeye ndio atakuwa saa yote ataka kujichoma?
Ndio, acha nijibu.
Wewe kama nani hapa?
At 4 minutes past 7 a.m., you're watching Good Morning Kenya. This is People and Politics. And today I want us to look at intergenerational politics. Is it a matter of conflict or continuity, given that when you talk about intergenerational politics in Kenya and the larger East Africa, we are talking matters that transcend a struggle for a political voice, policy priorities, legitimacy between older and younger leadership styles, and especially now that we are dealing with a very youthful majority here in Kenya, and especially also by extension Africa. But before we get into that conversation, I want to take you through what is reported on the front pages of the local dailies, and I am starting with the Star newspaper. Ruto three-pronged strategy to bag the Luya vote. Splintered but numerically formidable bloc was long a Raila stronghold. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Illicit brews, Muranga's silent crisis, illegal alcohol, lost lives, and a county in pain. That story is told on page 9 of the Star newspaper. New homes, new strategy, how regional parties are recasting 2027 election race. That story is told on page 7 of the Star newspaper. And finally, when the body changes quietly, women breaking the silence on menopause. Read that story on page 11 of the Star newspaper. Moving on to the Standard. Gethy, EACC and NYS. A fresh 6.2 billion shillings NYS payout has reopened one of Kenya's most enduring corruption riddles and placed Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in the dock. Court filings seen by the Standard show the EACC once helped clear most of the very claims it now calls fictitious before rushing to court to stop payment. At the center is Benson, quote-unquote, Ben Gethy Wangoi, a convicted forger, acquitted NYS suspect and self-declared billionaire, long named in parliamentary probes as the operational brain behind looting of public funds. As state waivers, billions hung in the balance and accountability once again slips away. That story is fleshed out on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Nation, Executive impunity. President has alleged judicial overreach and frowned upon orders he perceives to be derailing his policies. President Ruto promised his administration would comply with court orders vowing a break from his predecessor's rule, but his government now stands accused of violating judicial decrees with petitions targeting defiant ministers. The president has previously waged war against the judiciary, while state officials continue to disregard court orders. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. SHA medical cover bias hits patients. Some diagnosis, different pay. Interference by powerful figures in the Social Health Authority allocation packages has led to preferential treatment for certain Kenyans, creating a growing discrepancy in healthcare access. The nation has established that many patients, particularly those without connections to influential figures, find themselves disadvantaged, receiving lower package approvals compared to those who can make a phone call and secure higher authorization. That story is told in detail on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Gachagua party pursues coalition pact with Uhuru. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's party has ratified a plan for this year's activities, including forging partnership with former President Uhuru Kenyatta. That story is told on page 6 of the Daily Nation. That is what is making headlines in our local dailies today. Now, going back to what we are talking about today, it's all about intergenerational politics. That is the basis of our conversation, and the question we're asking, is there a conflict in terms of perspectives between generations when it comes to politics and governance, or can political continuity and reform coexist within a stable democratic system? That is a conversation I am having in studio with me with Davis Oluoch, who is the ODM from the ODM Youth League. Welcome and thank you for making time.
Thank you so much, Migwi.
Karibu sana. Let me say we are also expecting Senior Counsel Charles Kanjama, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and also Mheshimiwa Leo Amuthende, who is the MP for Mbeere North. Without wasting much time, Davis, as we push this conversation, as we wait for the others to arrive, when you look at the state of intergenerational politics in Kenya, is it a matter of conflict in terms of perspectives on leadership and politics, or a continuity of the status quo?
Thank you so much, Migwi.
Karibu sana.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
It's the first time I'm meeting you.
Yes.
The first time I'm coming to KBC TV.
Yes, hii mwaka.
Yes. So, first I want to say that, and I want to start with Chinua Achebe.
Yes.
And this one I've said several times when I'm here. Chinua Achebe says that generation must pass the baton to another, that leadership is like a relay race, that one generation passes the baton to another generation to continue with nation building. And I think it has been like that everywhere, all over the world, in America, here in Kenya, in South Africa, or even in Morocco. And I can tell you that our forefathers came maybe in 1920s and 30s, and they fought for independence. And we can see what they did. There are people who fought in the 1980s and in the 1990s, and we can see what they did. There are people who came in the early 2000s, and we can see what they did. And Miguel can tell you that where we are currently, there is a generational shift. There is a dawn of a new generation and a twilight for an older generation. And I can tell you, I do not know why there should be a conflict. I really do not know why. And Miki, I want to take you back to 2025.
Yes.
And in 2025, we saw several people dying, prominent people in different sectors. We saw the loss of Honorable Ngugi wa Thiong'o, saw the loss of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. We saw the death of trailblazer Phoebe Asio. We saw the death of Malulu Injendi, Cyrus Njirongo, and various others, even outside the world. We saw the death of the Pope. That year was telling us that surely it is a transitional year, and it is time for the young people who are good in politics, good in priesthood, good in journalism, to rise up to the occasion and now take the baton and build the nation to another generation. So I think there should not be conflict, Migwi. Yes.
So in terms of, what do you think in terms of perspectives? How do you strike that balance? Because we have to live, we are living in a system of where we have enough democratic space, yes. But then again, political continuity and reform, how do they then coexist within that space?
Migwi, there should be some deliberateness in trying in mentorship, and it should not be in politics alone. It should be in sports, it should be in journalism, it should be in environmental conservation and elsewhere. But now let me talk about politics. Let's talk, for example, a political party. We should have political academies that train young people who are from the universities into then the leadership of the political parties and the leadership of the nation. We should have government exchange programs and government mentorship programs and capacity building sessions. And former ministers and former presidents like former President Uhuru Kenyatta or former Minister Fred Matiang'i can come in and mentor the other generation of people who want to go into civil service. And then that is how the nation is built, so that they can pass the torch of the generation aspiration and say that as a generation, now that is the generation of President Uhuru Kenyatta, they can say that as a generation, this is what we managed to build when we were in power. And now we are handing it over to you, another generation. These are the aspirations of our forefathers. You see, Migwi, our forefathers in 1963, they had prayers in our national anthem. And they prayed for freedom, they prayed for justice, they prayed for liberty, they prayed for prosperity, and they prayed for unity in our national anthem. Have we achieved those things so far? That is what now our forefathers or our people who have gone ahead of us should bring us on a table, even monthly on annual seminars, annual academies, and tell us that as a generation, this is what we expect of you. This is what we managed to do. This is what we expect of you. And by the time you are done, now we want you to treat another generation. I think in the quest for nation building, there should be cohesion and there should be continuity. And Migwi, I want to admit that the continuity we've seen is always by a fight. That in the early 1990s, there was a group called the Young Turks.
Yes.
That was the Raila Odingas, the James Orengos, the Martha Karuas, the Gitobu Imanyaras. And they said that now we want to take over by force. And they fought through it that way. And we are normalizing that kind of standard, that people must fight through it. But I think there should be deliberateness in continuity. Someone who served for 30 years or 40, and recently we've had people joking about someone who served in government for 50 or for 40 years, should say that now I've tried, and now I have to leave it to the next generation. That is what I feel, and what I feel, Migwi, in a nutshell, is that there should be deliberateness in continuity. It should not be forceful.
Deliberateness in continuity. Let's look at what is going on in ODM. Of course, there's intergenerational politics playing out in ODM. And established leaders going for strategic alliances, while younger voices like that of Winnie Odinga are calling for transparency, consultation, and even grassroots involvement. When you look at that scenario, is that a threat to party unity, or is there a kind of a generational negotiation that strengthens what you'd call democracy by broadening that participation?
Mwigi, talking about ODM, and I've avoided this conversation for a very long time.
Yes.
Because I believe in cohesion. I believe in differences of perspective, but coming together to harmonize this differences in perspective.
Yes.
But Migwi, as I told you last year, and let me get to 2024.
Yes.
2024, the young people went on the streets and they said enough with corruption, with vandalism, with greed. And in 2025, we lost prominent people. And Migwe, I want to take you to the Bible today. I think it's the book of Luke. There's someone called Simeon. I think Simeon was a priest. And I think when baby Jesus was 8 years old, baby Jesus is taken to Simeon. And Simeon takes baby Jesus into his hand. And he says, in his own words, that now I can die. Simeon said, now I can die. Because I've seen baby Jesus, I've seen the glory of the Lord. And I want to tell you, Simeon was a priest who was evangelizing for the people. And when he saw a new generation that has come, and Jesus had told, and God had told him that he will not die before seeing the Messiah, he said that now he can live. The world is now at peace. The world is now good because there is a new prophet in town. And I can tell you, Martin Luther King in 1968 says that now he can die. He said that I have seen the glory land. I might not get there with you, but together you will get there. Do you know what that means? 1968, when Martin Luther King is saying this, President Barack Obama is being born. And that is a dream. And so, what I was talking about is 2025. Baba, who has been fighting for the rights of Kenyans, saw the Gen Zs in 2024 fighting for the rights of Kenyans, and Baba said, now I can depart because I've seen a new generation who can take over from me. And then Baba departs, and Ngugi wa Thiong'o departs, and sportsmen departs, George Foreman, a boxer, departs, and we've seen Cyrus Jirongo departing, we saw Malulu Injendi departing. They have seen a new generation that can now take over. And that is part of what is happening in ODM, because a new generation is saying that we are now here, we can now take over. These are our voices. And you see, there's something called I dislike. It's the superiority of the known. That one tribe feels that his or her tribe is superior than the other. One gender feels that his or her gender is superior than the other. Now it is about generation. One generation feels that the young cannot. The young are also feeling that the old cannot. I think there should be unity of purpose, because Jesse Jackson says that lions eat lambs, and lambs, when they see lions, they run. But even lions and lambs sometimes find a common ground, because all of them don't want the forest burnt out, or all of them don't want acid rain to fall on them. So if lions and lambs can sometimes find a common ground, why is it so difficult for all these generations to find a common ground? Thank you.
Yes. Is it enhancing democracy?
Partly. You see, Migwe say that democracy is listening to the people. And I think that is something that Winnie said. Because we saw when the Orange Democratic Movement Party last sat at the Central Management Committee, and I don't disagree with their resolution, but what I partly disagreed with is when they said that they had decided that they are going into a pact with the United Democratic Alliance, and in subsequent days they will go into what? Into consultations with the people. And I found that absurd, because I felt that they were supposed to first consult the people, then make a decision. But you can't make a decision then claim that you are going to consult the people when you already decided. So I think it is democracy when the young people are also saying that you've not even included our perspective. I wasn't even consulted. Honorable Winnie was not consulted. Honorable Babu says he was not consulted. And so I think it is partly democracy. Yes. And I think we must find a unity of purpose.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll come back to that, because there's a perspective on approach to how the issues raised can be addressed, whether it's a youthful generation of leaders or the older generation of leaders. We are also joined by Senior Counsel Charles Kanjama. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you.
How are
I'm
you doing
happy
this
to
morning?
be here. I'm very well.
Yes.
And good morning to your listeners.
Karibu sana. Sasa, we are talking about intergenerational politics, and the question is it a matter of conflict or continuity? Because now we are looking at Kenya and East Africa having a growing youthful majority, and when you look at intergenerational politics, this seems to transcend matters to do with slogans, to include matters of policy reforms, political voice, and also institutional access, among other things. But from your perspective, I want to understand this. Can political continuity and reform coexist within a democratic system?
Definitely. I think the answer to the question, if I may be brief at the beginning,
yes,
is that there are both elements of conflict and continuity. And that is okay, because democracy is all about different people coming and to the marketplace of ideas and competing on the basis of ideas and numbers. And the younger generation want to play their rightful role in determining the future of the nation. And of course, the older generation have already played their role. They want to continue playing their role. The older generation tend to focus more on traditions, on authority, on existing structures. The younger generation sometimes find that if they limit themselves to existing structures and authority, it will take them very long for their voices to be heard. So there's an element of competition that can breed conflict. It doesn't need to be a conflict that takes away peace, but a conflict where different ideas compete in the marketplace of ideas. And there's also an element of continuity, because there's mentorship, because the youth or the younger generation eventually realize that they need to work with the older generation who have experience, who can give them ideas, who can support them, they can mentor them. Some of them can even be their patrons, can patronize them in the right way. So there's both conflict and continuity, and it is a good thing. And you will see that every generation, when they are coming of age, they try to take some kind of leadership, or to take some kind of control over the structures of leadership of the nation. So, for example, the Gen Z protests over the finance bill was their coming of age in terms of political consciousness, and saying that we also need to be considered. We are very concerned about widespread corruption, large overtaxation, and other ills that are afflicting our country.
What about the approach? You've spoken of the youth in 2024, and also we saw what happened in Tanzania in the lead up towards their election. Is it a problem of approach for both generations, where the youth need things to happen now, but the older generation of leaders have a way of doing things?
There's also a difference of approach generally. The younger lion and the older lion in the pride, the approach is different. The older lion has already tested its strength. It's already comfortable in its strength. It has secured its dominance. And it is more or less more comfortable with the ordinary way of doing things. The younger lion has not yet tested its strength. It wants to see how far it can go. So this is true even in the animal kingdom. What we are saying is that approach, there will be similarities and differences as well. But every young generation, they have their way of testing the margins or the limits of what can be done. And sometimes it's only when you test the limits that you appreciate and recognize the boundaries of the constitutional framework that guides all of us. So even in terms of approach, there's a difference. For example, the Gen Z is a digital generation. They are very comfortable with engaging on social media, on other forms of digital media, organizing, collaborating. This we had not seen with the previous generation. This is a difference of approach. Sometimes the freedom of the digital media can be misused, like any other freedom can be misused. Even the freedom of the old generation of protest could be misused. If the government can misuse its structures of authority, anyone can misuse. But definitely it's a new approach, and it's quite refreshing. And it has actually added a new dimension to a democratic space, our ability to mobilize, even to engage our leaders on social media, on email, and so on. It is only for the better.
Davis, how do we strike that balance to ensure that, yes, we have a different of opinion, differences in terms of ideologies and approach, but then again, how do we strike that balance to ensure every party, everyone within, say, in a political party setting, feels that their needs and the grievances have been addressed?
Migwe, I think balances are struck by ideologies. And you see, there are things that bind us, and there are things that divide us. And Migwe had told you that in 1963, I think in 62, we came out with a prayer. Our forefathers gave them to us. And they say that, "O God of all creation, bless this our land and nation. Justice be our shield and defender. May we dwell in unity, peace, and liberty. Justice be our shield and defender." This is our ideology as a nation. And I feel that every other time that we differ, we must go back there, so that when the men fight the women, or the young fight the old, we have a common aspiration. We have an aspiration to justice and to liberty and to unity and to prosperity as a nation. So even as a political party,
yes,
let's talk about ODM, where I come from. Yes. ODM is a center-left political party, is a social democratic political party. So we have values, we have a mission as a political party, we have a vision as a political party, and then we have organs of political party. We have the Central Management Committee, we have the National Executive Council, the neck of the party, we have the National Governing Council, we have the National Delegates Conference. So everything that we resolve as a political party must be in tandem with our ideology. So our ideology must now bring us to the middle ground. And those are the things that now brings us together. And Migwi, if we are supposed to start even a circle or a group with you, we must have binding values. So those values will one day converge, so that even if we have differences of opinions, we must now come back to the values. But sometimes, Migwi, I think it is also issues of egos. And it is what I've called the superiority complex. One generation feels superior than the other, one gender feels superior than the other, one religion feels superior than the other. We must know that everyone brings a different perspective, and an important perspective.
Yes.
And no one is not stained. We all have our weaknesses, and we all have our strengths. So these are fundamental issues that we must accept for us to forge together. Migwi, I want to tell you that I know senior counsel is here, so I don't want to talk much about law. But there's something that the Americans came up with called e pluribus unum. That out of many, we are one. That is in their motto, I think, in their Great Seal. That out of many, we are one. So that, and I've told you about Jesse Jackson, saying that even lions and lambs at some point find a common ground. So as a human being, as a civil people, we must sometimes find a common ground. And there are very many things that bind us, Migwi. Let's talk about the youth.
Okay, hold that thought. Hold that thought. Okay. We're going for a short break, and we'll come back to continue on that point. Remember, you're talking about intergenerational politics here in Good Morning Kenya. Stay with us.
Emergency operation. I need to go now.
The president didn't answer the phone.
We've encountered this situation in China before. The doctor there sewed a biofilm on the patient's abdomen. After the swelling subsides, we can completely close the abdomen.
Shan came all the way here to see you. It's clear she's doing all she can do. What more do you want? Don't think she's weak and can't live without you.
What's wrong? I don't see Jiang Yao.
Did they disappear?
When I woke up at 5 a.m., I couldn't find Jiang Yao.
Essie, and check over there.
Jiang Yao, 妈妈就是。Jiang Yao.
Friday night again. Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside.
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Want to enjoy free-to-air digital TV with crystal clear quality? Here's how to get started with Signet. Step 1. If you have a smart TV, you're good to go. Next, connect the aerial to your TV. Now, do an auto search on your TV. Just follow the prompts on the screen. And that's it. You're now tuned in to Signet. Sit back and enjoy a wide range of free-to-air digital channels. For technical inquiries, call the Signet hotline on 0770 572 656.
You're still watching Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migo. This is People and Politics, and we're looking at intergenerational politics. Conflict or continuity, that's the question. You wanted to say something, Davis, matters to do with the youth, in line with what you are executing as your point.
Miguel was telling you about Jesse Jackson. I think the first black man to contest for presidency in the United States of America. And Jesse Jackson said that even lions eat lambs. And lambs flee from lions. But at some point, they even find common ground, that lions and lambs do not want the forest to catch fire. They also don't want acid rain to rain on them. So if lions and lambs can find a common ground, then surely we as civil people can find a common ground. Maybe each generation brings a unique perspective. That is what I feel. I think the elders bring the not so young, that is what I always call, bring historical context, and they bring a lot of wisdom. The middle cohorts bring practical experience. Most of them are in the job markets currently. The young bring the tech-savvy optimism and a lot of vibrancy and energy. If we combine all these things, and there is something that the women bring and what the men bring. There's something that the Christians bring, and the Muslims, and the Jews, and the Gentiles, and the Hindus. There's something that the farmers bring. There's something that the women in the villages and the women in the slums bring. So if we bring all this perspective together, and Miki, that is why I was a proponent, a very big one, of what Baba called the intergenerational conclave before he died. He really wanted the generations to sit down on a table and talk and bring in new perspectives and enrich a new aspiration for a new Kenya. Yes.
All right. We're also joined by Mheshimiwa Leo Wamuthende, who is the MP for Mbeere North. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you, and sincere apologies for getting here late. Yeah.
Apologies accepted. Matters to do with intergenerational politics and the conflict or continuity from your perspective. And this is a question I asked even to the panelists. You know, can political continuity and reform coexist in a stable democratic system?
Yes, in my opinion, actually continuity should be the way forward. I don't see the need for conflict because ideally the old should leave space for the young. It's just that sometimes you find that in the political space, there is really no definition of old. You know, you have even 96-year-olds competing for political office. So then the young people feel disadvantaged because you need to exit so that we come. You need to mentor. You need to nurture talent. And of course, it's natural, you know. The younger people have some vibrancy. The younger people bring some energy. And because of being around longer, the older people have some experience and wisdom, so they say. So I would encourage continuity, and even the issues we are seeing around, even with ODM, I think it's something that they need to look into so that they sit and agree. Because if Baba was able to run the show, you know, he was not a fairly young person. I mean, you can say he was old. And I still believe he had a lot of time with the brother. They were together longest. So it's good for also the young sometimes to take a step back and take counsel from the older people. But in an ideal system, then you would have the younger people naturally take over. For example, even in the US, you know, the deputy president is, you know, is a young person, you know. The Trump is much older. And that looks like he's paving way for someone younger. I think he's in his early 40s or late 30s. So that's a very good model. You show leadership by accepting that at some point I'll exit the stage. Yes. Yeah. So the problem is old in politics is not defined. So someone at 76, 80 something, they are still vying. And you know, the young people also are vibrant. They have energy. They have ideas which probably they don't find space to express. And that's why now you end up with a conflict. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned ODM, and you know, there's internal debates that are going on within that party over direction, and even alliances ahead of 2027. You know, we have younger voices within that party representing a generation that calls for inclusive decision making. Is this a healthy continuity in a party, in party democracy, or is it a sign of a deeper generational conflict?
Well, for ODM, it's quite interesting. Again, this is a party that had a very firm leader who was quite revered. He had the final word. So they are in a space where, you know, now they are finding time to express themselves. So it could be that it's also new to them. So some parties have had that, you know, even within, let's say, my party like UDA, we have elections, we have elections from polling stations all the way up. So from grassroots leaders, electing ward leaders, constituency leaders, all the way to the national level. So I believe maybe if ODM did something similar, you would not have so much of that conflict. But again, I must say that if until the other day or until Sunday, it's been forces within ODM, which is very healthy, you know. You have two factions who feel that, you know, this is the direction the party needs to take. It's healthy to have, you know, differences. Yeah, the only challenge is now when it goes even to the family. And that's where I find it's taking a different direction. Yeah, so if the younger Odingas could sit down with the older Odinga, and you know, it's not a healthy conflict. Within the party, it's fine. Within the party, I think the members are free to express themselves. I'm sure they will come up with a mechanism to have one final word. And and we move. But within the family, I think they need to find a way, because they all have a name. So when our Dinga speaks, it's like, if one tends to imagine this is someone who was close to Baba, they would know what Baba wanted. On the other hand, when we sit, we know Baba wanted to continue working with government. So, and that's what we know. Yeah, and unfortunately, we all have to navigate around that until ODM finds direction.
All right, all right. Senior Counsel, your sentiment from a legal and constitutional standpoint, we are talking about this off air. If you look at Kenya's political parties right now, and the internal disagreements that come up once in a while, and sometimes now you're looking at ODM where there's that intergenerational divide, how do they approach that without risking that the fragmentation or undermining democratic governance within political parties?
So there are several things that you can talk about. One is structural. From the days of KANU as the sole political party until we got into a multi-party democracy, you find that many political parties in their constitution to foster inclusion among Kenyans or among voters have included, in addition to the general office bearers and committees, a committee for women, a committee for youth. Because these were important demographics that previously were not fully represented in political spaces. So the first solution is structural. And it cannot just be cosmetic. It has to be real, that you have structures that encourage the youth or the younger voters, the younger population to engage in politics. And the Constitution of Kenya defines youth under Article 260 as anyone who's above 18 years of age.
Yes.
So they're entitled to vote, and they are below 35 years of age. So they are not considered to have reached middle age. They are considered to still be young. So you'll find many political party constitutions having a structural approach of this kind, whereby they have representation of youth in their leadership structures. They even have a youth conference. But that is not enough. We now need to go to the process. Is there a genuine process for engaging the youth? Or is it just something that is cosmetic or full of tokenism? You keep talking about the youth, but in the real forums where decisions are being made, when the ideas of the youth are coming up, they are sidelined or put on the side. So there are moments when the youth demand, rightly, that their voice is listened to. And the Gen Z protest was one such example. They entered the national discourse. And in fact, at that time, they said, no, let the older politicians go to the side. This is ours. This is our time to engage with the government of the day and to push our agenda. So they have to be given space. And then after they have expressed themselves, there has to be a conversation or a dialogue. And when they have taken up space, sometimes there's competition. Competition is good. I was talking about the animal kingdom. When you look at the lions in the animal kingdom, because that is the example I used, there are times when the pride of lions is led by a grizzled old lion that has gone through many battles and is a very senior lion. And sometimes it is a young lion that comes and competes and fights with the bigger lion or the older lion and takes control based on strength, based on strategy. You could almost say based on ideas, if it is for us human beings. Yes. So you can't define and say that we'll put a limit to the participation of the youth. We'll give them a youth representative in an executive committee, because there might be a young person, a man or woman, who may have such great ideas that they're even able to take over the overall leadership of the party. And this has happened in certain places.
Yes.
And even in Kenya in certain times. But then there are times when maybe they are not at the ultimate center of leadership, but you bring them close because their ideas are very good. Young people tend to be dynamic, versatile, and they also tend to be idealistic in the positive sense of they're trying to transform society. They don't have sometimes the cynicism of us who are a bit more senior. We can become a bit more cynical because say, I've seen this, I've seen that, things are not likely to change. And it is because of this idealism of the youth and energy that they have and vibrancy that they have that sometimes true transformation happens in a society. So for me it can only be good, but I insist, if you insist that the only way of engaging between the young and the older generation is through smooth continuity, then you are stifling the energy of the youth. So there has to be a place for continuity and also place for conflict. But when I talk about conflict, I talk about it in a positive sense. Debate of ideas, competition even for power, those things have to happen so that ultimately we get the best person and the best ideas to guide our nation.
Yes. You know, Davis, you're from the ODM Youth League. From a political party setting, regardless of which political party, we have political parties with youth wings all over. But then again, the question is, in as far as we are talking about matters to do with taking up leadership position and getting to the political ecosystem, do these youth wings really present alternative leadership to political parties?
I don't think so, because you see, I've done research about youth leagues in Africa and all over the world, and I've even seen how the Democratic Party, it's called the YDA, Young Democrats, conduct their activities. And they even, in the run-up to an election, they even have their own NDC and come up with their own resolutions. And they have their own logos, and they run their own programs, and they have their own resources. I've also been in the ODM Youth League, I think, for now some good time. And what I've realized is that what Senior Counsel was saying, cosmetic, there's a lot of cosmeticism, if that is the correct English. Because Migwi, I think, I've also been part of an organization called Interparties Youth Forum. And at some point I was the Secretary General of the Interparties Youth Forum. These are caucus that brought together all the youth leagues in Kenya. And we said that now, going forward, our issues will be addressing them in unity, so that if there is an oppression of a young person in ODM, we will come together and address that issue. So, one, we don't have good structured youth leagues in Kenya. And I think ODM is trying, but we are not there yet. And that is why you see the young people in ODM making a lot of noise. Because at the topmost organ of the party, at the Central Management Committee, sits there one young person and 15 other not so young people. At the National Executive Council, sits 45 people and only one young person. At the National Governing Council, sit I think 10 young people, but over 200 not so young people. So at the topmost two organs, where now we are told that we are going to a pact with the United Democratic Alliance, which I don't oppose, but there's only one young person there. Meaning if that one young person has a proposal and the not so young people oppose him, he doesn't have a backup. At the National Executive Council, where 45 people sit, there's only one young person who sits there. And what I don't understand, Migwi, is that when the Orange Democratic Movement Party was taking experts to the government, there was no young person who was taken to the government. And when the experts were replaced in the party, like Honorable John Mbadi was the chairperson of the party, and Honorable Joe was a deputy party leader, and Honorable Paranya was a deputy party leader, and there was a lady from Turkana, she was, I think, a member of the National Elections Board. Even the replacements, there was no young person who was put strategically in the political party. And if you look at the resourcing of the party, the ORPP says that 30% of that political party's fund should go to the special interest groups, the women leagues and the youth leagues and the PWD leagues. But we don't see that. We don't see the resourcing of the youth leagues. And that is why other political party youth leagues, the CCM in Tanzania, the ACT Wazalendo in Tanzania, are doing much better than political youth leagues in Kenya. That is why the ANC in South Africa, the EFF Youth League in South Africa are doing better than us here in Kenya. That is why the Republican Party Youth League in the America and the Democratic Party, the Young Democrats of America, are doing much better than political youth leagues in Kenya. There is no resourcing, there is no good mentorship, there is no academy, there is no deliberateness in transition, that when we spot young people who are in the university, who are vibrant, we can now take them into the party and have an academy to mentor them. There is no such deliberateness, and it is all round in all these political parties. And I think it is fear of the not so young, that when the youth leagues are so vibrant, the youth leagues might take over the party. That is what I'm thinking.
Okay, all right. Mheshimiwa, as he is saying, would those with matters to do with mentorship help in ensuring that the continuity you're talking about, yes, will be there, but at least chances of conflict in terms of ideologies will be reduced?
Yeah, I think I will say what Wakili here said is correct. And Davis has put a very strong case. And unfortunately, we are in a, do I call it system or society where we have so much emphasis on experience, even in jobs, you know. You have young graduates who are required to have experience from where they just graduated and they have been trained for these positions. You have, even in procurement, companies that, you know, you are required even to have experience from the onset. So because of that, even when you go to the political space, you find that the young people who have made it in politics actually worked their way up. And it's very tedious, expensive, because, I mean, this is someone who has very good ideas, who is now thrown into a world where it's sometimes not just ideas that work. So I want to support that. We need that inclusivity for the youth and the special interest groups. And that's why, like, as I mentioned, the grassroots elections in UDA, where we have 20 elected grassroots leaders at every polling station. And majority actually are youth, because in every category they encourage to have at least, you know, youth from either gender. And we have a special category for youth, that is 4 out of the 20, and the youth are encouraged to vie for those positions. Which means now when we have a national delegates conference for UDA, most of the members will be the youth. So UDA is taking that position, and if youth use their numbers, I believe they can get people to power. So you have to wrestle your way up. It's how the system is right now. And it's unfortunate that most of the time, I know Davis is being very political by saying they're not so young. It's okay to be old. We are all getting there. Yes. Yeah, the older politicians, they really don't take time to mentor the youth. I've never understood why. Personally, I feel encourage the youth, mentor them, especially if you pick talent in leadership, because if you go to, like, especially NGOs are supporting youth activities, you find there are some very brilliant young men out there who, like, personally have benefited from, even in my campaigns, and I've included them in my office. So we have to mentor these young people. And we don't have to go the Lion Kingdom way, because definitely, like Wakili said, it's a brutal fight to get the older people out. Yes. But if that's what's going to happen, then so be it. And remember, youth have everything going for them. Energy, strength, new ideas. You know, they are in a space where they understand better than even the older people. So This is a very good conversation, and I would urge those in other parties to embrace the same. Because, for example, there are some people who have been even presidential aspirants for the last, I don't know how many elections. You know, sometimes they sit ground, sometimes they vie. You know, if they nurtured the younger people, younger blood within their party, you could end up with a younger, more accepted presidential candidate. So it's time for even political parties to look into that. UDA has led by ensuring that in every polling station we have at least 50% being young leaders, and from either gender, including the disabled and farmers, business people. So we are going to have a very vibrant NDC going forward, and that means UDA is leading in ensuring that we have a transition and continuity from the older generation all to the younger generation. And I must say that within our party, we have, our leadership is, I can call them not so old and be correct. You know, you cannot call someone who is 70 not so old, but at least someone who is 55. That one is a not so old person.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Senior Counsel, looking at the current constitutional and electoral laws in Kenya, do they facilitate genuine intergenerational transition, or is there a risk of perpetuating continuity at the expense of representative change?
Okay. Let me start by saying that I think we are all in agreement that the young people need to be more involved in our politics, issues of leadership and governance. But there is a danger that in the course of emphasizing that, we may fall into what is called ageism and start maybe looking down at more senior politicians. Just a few months ago, the whole country was in mourning when Jacom passed away, and the tributes were tremendous. And he had spent several decades in politics. He had vied for political office several occasions. Within ODM, there was even a discussion about whether he would vie again. And ageism would be then to disqualify someone purely because of their age. You, because you are maybe 70 or above, we are not going to vote for you. Our country only doesn't have a maximum age limit. Of course, it's always better when the person who's serving serves only for 1 or 2 terms and then makes way for someone else, because you always need fresh ideas. But it's also important to harness the experience of those who have been at it for longer. Even when we're talking about mentorship, it's because we value experience. In all sectors of life, we value experience. So experience is very critical. And our constitutional dispensation recognizes that everyone has a role. And when we talk about representative democracy, there are 2 dimensions. One is a dimension of that at the lawmaking or at the governance space, there are people who look like all of us. Ethnically, there are people who look like us. Gender, there are people who look like us. In terms of communities, marginalized and so on, there are people who look like all of us. We bring everyone to the table. But you also remember that someone might be 60 and a man, but is championing women's agenda. Somebody might be 70, male or female, and is championing the youth agenda. In fact, their ideas may be even better for the youth than the other person. So at the end of the day, once people have come to the table, then you create room for a genuine competition of ideas and the best ideas to win. And you need leadership where there are also some people who are more experienced, because they tend to be a bit of a stabilizing factor. Even if the person at the ultimate leadership is young, they need an advisor who will tell them, you know, this one we've tried before, it might backfire in this or that other way. So you need both wisdom and of the aged and the vitality of the youth. Actually, those who are above 65 years in our constitution are considered also a special group that needs recognition and protection in the Constitution. So the Constitution has an article for the youth under 35, another one for aged, which means 65 and over, according to the definition of our Constitution. So really, to answer your question, all these mechanisms are recognized in the Constitution, and all these mechanisms of interacting, intergenerational, based on other demographics, whether it is gender, whether it is regional diversity, religion, and so on. And they're important for the society that you have inclusion, diversity, but at the same time, we ultimately focus on who has the best ideas and who has the track record. Who has the track record, or who can we trust their competence that they will deliver what is right for Kenya.
Indeed. We are going to continue with this conversation once we come back from this short break. Stay with us.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form. 2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We are talking about intergenerational politics. Is it conflict or continuity? And I'm having that conversation with Senior Counsel Charles Kanjama, Mheshimiwa Leo Muthende, and also Davis Oluoch. And I want to throw one to you, Davis Oluoch. Now, we've seen that the youth awareness in terms of matters to do with governance and politics within the country is significant. Yet there's the aspect of unemployment and disengagement from electoral politics are there. But then again, the question is, what do you think are the biggest barriers to turning youth energy into political outcomes? But before we come to that, there's a link that we are expecting from Kisumu, where a multi-agency team led by the Nakada currently is raiding bang selling points in Ahero, Kisumu County. And this is in line with the President's directive of the fight against alcohol and substance abuse. The pictures you can see on your screen, that is what is going on in Kisumu right now in Ahero. And it's in line with the President's directive on the fight against alcohol and substance abuse. We have our reporter on the ground, but once he is ready, he will be bringing us more on that. That is Achola Simon in Kisumu, who will be bringing us much more on what is happening in line with that raid that is going on in Ahero right about now. You know, the president has been very vocal in terms of matters to do with alcohol abuse and the fight against the drug abuse. And so this is just one of the steps that is being made towards realizing that effect and ensuring that this matter is addressed once and for all. Once Achola Simon is ready with that link, we shall be going back to that. Coming back to our conversation, Davis, matters to do with youth awareness. Now, what do you think are the biggest structural barriers that the youth are facing in turning their energy now into tangible political outcomes?
Maybe I'm thinking about narratives. And when the white man came into Africa, they said that our cultures were inferior, our languages were inferior, the food, we were uncivilized, and our skin was inferior. And it was in us, it was inculcated into us, maybe up to date. We've not healed from that. And women were told the same, that they were weak and they could not do this and that. And the youth have been told the same, that they're lethargic, they're lazy, their voices don't matter, they don't vote. Even if we had 8.1 million votes in the last elections, and we are still continuing to register as voters. Miki, you must ask yourself, why is it that young people are very active in politics at the university and at colleges and in high schools, yet when they're outside here, we are being told they're lethargic and they're apathetic and they're not there in the political field? It is because of structural barriers that we've talked about. And the first thing that I told you is that there's no deliberateness. There are no academies in these political parties. I think UDA was building some big edifice as a political headquarters with the Chinese. I don't know where it reached, but I'm thinking, why can't they include an academy in a part of that edifice and a library? And it is a proposal that I've given ODM very many times, that why can't we have a Raila Odinga Leadership Academy? And ODM said that when we were going to Mombasa in last year, they were going to launch something called Raila Odinga Leadership Academy. But they did not launch it, and I don't know why. So there are no academies for mentorship, and our youth leagues are weak. And they are not weak because the youth are weak, or the youth who are even leading the youth leagues are weak. They are weak because of systematic barriers. They are not well resourced. They are not given officers to run the youth activities. So those are systematic barriers. One must ask, why is it that if you visit these towns and cities, you will meet youth in construction sites working very hard. You will meet them in restaurants having us food, dinner, and lunch. You will meet them in kinyozis and salons working very hard. You will meet these youth in media stations carrying cameras and writing scripts for us to get the news. You meet them in churches organizing and volunteering and offering charity work. You meet them in law firms, and I think Wakili will agree with me, helping them in doing research and everything around that. You meet them in border, taking us into the interior of the nations where roads have not been built. You meet them in matatus, and you meet them in the lakes, fishing so that the country can feed. Why is it that we are telling us that these young people are not in politics? Because it is a narrative, Migwi. And one thing that is happening is that the not so young, and not so young is a euphemism actually. It's actually a good term because calling someone old might feel bad. So calling him not so young, I think there's an element of young there. So the not so young people are on the table. And when the youth see that this is a table, this is a cabinet meeting, and there's no youth, so they get reluctant and they get demotivated. And there's another narrative that the vote is already decided, and then the youth get demotivated, that why am I going to vote when the vote is already decided and the incumbent is going to win it, by the way. So they relax. Another thing is the traditional way of thinking of the not so young, that they are there, they're making decisions, the youth are not there to bring in their ideas that we want a vote, internet kind of voting, or an easier way of voting, and we have the way, or we have the ideas. So they stick to the traditional ways of voting. Yes. And this keep the youth away. So maybe some of these are the strategic barriers that bar the youth from voting. Currently, there is, I think, voter registration, but the IBC is not doing well. The IBC is not on TikTok, on Instagram, it's not on Facebook, it's not even advertising on TV. IBC is just there. You meet them in DCC offices and chiefs camp. But they need to go where the youth are. And I think it's time the political parties, and Wamuthende is saying that, Honorable Wamuthende, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
He's saying that UDA is coming up strongly and propose to UDA. And this is not about UDA and ODM and Jubilee and any other political party. We need very many young people in politics. And because now the generation is shifting. Yes.
All right. Let me give you each 2 seconds or 30 seconds for you to give your closing remarks in the interest of time. Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa.
Yeah. So first, like I said, this is a very interesting conversation. You see, for the young people to rise in politics, they also have to be seen. And like he said, we are seeing them all over. They are doing amazing things around. But the thing is, picking from where Wakili mentioned, at what point do you exit? Because I know, yes, he mentioned euphemism, but that's where the part of where the problem begins. People need to be told the truth. It's time to exit. And you see, you cannot be a good example when you are clinging on to power for a very long time. Okay. In fact, the best thing is for you to mentor someone and actually see whether they are even implementing what you showed them, what your experience taught them. And like now, when you have actually to be voted out because of maybe gaps in your leadership, that could have been filled by a younger person who you support. So I feel it's youth actually need to come up. And like I said, within UDA, and you've seen even the president with the Nyota program, part of the way to empower youth is to make them independent. Right. Once people have dispensable income, then they become independent and they make good decisions. Finally, our president would exit politics at 66. We have come from 84 I think 76. We are at 66, so we are headed in the right direction. He is able to see the people he's mentoring, the Wamuthendes and the other younger politicians take the stage. So we are headed in the right direction, and I support that parties need to have structures that support youth in leadership.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Senior Counsel.
Our neighbor to the west, Uganda, has just had elections a few days ago, and the incumbent president, who's well over 80 and has been governing the country for 40 years now, won, according to the announcement of the Electoral Commission, a new 5-year term in the midst of complaints of rigging, manipulation of voters, and intimidation, and so on. More than 80% of Ugandans were people who were born after he took office.
Yes.
They don't have the experience of another leader. So I think what I would like to say is that it's not so much even the question of age. It's a question of how long you cling to the center of power, how long you remain there. If you got into power when you are quite young and you remain there for a long period of time, you may still be in calendar years young, but in terms of ideas of change and transformation, you're very old. So I think what we also need to check is how long have you been at the center of elective politics. But I think what is clear is that we need to get the right balance between embracing new people, fresh ideas, fresh hands, and also recognizing the continuity of some of the more experienced hands. That is where political contestation comes in. And sometimes it is good for the party in power to embrace the youth. Sometimes it's good for the opposition party to get power, and then they can bring in their ideas. So that mix between those who are in power and those who are outside power and coming with their ideas is what helps the marketplace of ideas to thrive, right. Kenyans to become truly dynamic and to benefit from all the ideas and all the people who can help the country grow.
All right, Davis, as we close.
Thank you so much, Charles. As we close, I want to congratulate Honorable Wamuthende, and I wish Honorable Senior Counsel well in his election as in his bid. My father introduced me to Charles Kanjama, not physically, but when we were watching TV back in the rural villages in those early days, he told me that he's a great person. My father is an ordinary person in the village. I didn't know how he knew him. Migwi, as I close, E pluribus unam, out of many, we are one. Our perspectives, our unity, if we bring them together, the old, the middle, and the young, we can build a great nation full of liberty, justice, peace, and prosperity. Thank you so much.
We are one.
Yes.
What a point to close at the show. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time to come on Good Morning Kenya and talk about this issue of generational politics, intergenerational politics, conflict or continuity. That is Honorable Liwa Muthende, MP for Mbere North, and also Senior Counsel Charles Kanjama, and also Davis Olwatch of the ODM Youth League. This is where this conversation ends, and I want us to cross over to Kisumu County, where, as I had alluded to earlier, the multi-agency team led by Nakada currently raiding bang selling points in Ahero in Kisumu County. This is in line with the President's directive of the fight against alcohol and substance abuse. Simon Achola is on standby. Simon Achola, what's the latest from that side?
Well, good morning, Mike, and thank you very much indeed. We are coming to you live from Kisumu County, and specifically in Ahero, in one of the sprawling settlements here, just next to Ahero River Nyando. And of course, what is happening is that a multi-agency team led by Nakada is actually out there trying to enforcing that directive by President William Ruto on the 31st of December this year, of course, the wee hours of the morning of the 1st of January, where he directed a fully fledged war against alcohol and substance abuse. And what is happening right now is that they've just gained entry in one of the stores of cannabis sativa here in Ahero. They have not found the owner of the store, but what is happening is that they have secured the space, and of course efforts are on to try and see if they can actually find out what more is actually happening in this spot. I'll just give you a small brief of what the Deputy Director Corporates Nakada has told me is that at the beginning of last week they were actually in Machakos, and they did confiscate alcohol worth 15 million shillings. That is quite some amount. And of course this week they have actually been in Nandi, where 2 arrests were made, and of course yesterday and today they've been in Kisumu County still enforcing that directive by President. And I'm joined here by Simon Mwangi, who is the Deputy Director Corporates Nakada, who will just tell us exactly what they are on in this part of the country and how long these efforts will actually continue. Simon, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Quite an effort. We've just seen what has happened here. And of course, this speaks to what the president said on 31st of December last year on the eve of FAST, that there'll be a fully fledged war against drugs and substance abuse in the country.
Yes, thank you very much. So today we are in Ahero within Kisumu County. And like you've witnessed, we've been able to nab a substantial amount of cannabis. And this individual whom we are nabbing this from is somebody we have also arrested before. During the Jukwaa Usalama initiative, we came here, we conducted an operation, we got quite a very huge haul of cannabis. We were able to prosecute this individual, and they've been out on bond for just a week, and you can see the business is back and booming. So these operations are coming in the wake of the sustained war, the renewed fight against drug abuse in the country, as proclaimed by the President on the 1st of this year. We are on high alert and we are not relenting. We are continuing with these operations across the country, and for the habitual offenders, we are coming for them again and again until they quit this business. And remember, there was a proclamation also that forfeiture of property, which is suspected to be proceeds of these activities, is going to be undertaken. So those are the things now we are beginning to put in motion. And within a very short time, we are going to seize this property, because this is a habitual offender, and it is indeed indicative that this property is proceeds of this activity.
Simon, this suspect was just in custody. I mean, he just came out last week, right? Yes. It's just a week. Yes. And of course, he already has such volumes of, cannabis sativa. That speaks to the fact that, this is an ongoing and brazen behavior from him. It essentially means that probably he's operating above the law. Does it worry you guys that such acts actually continue to happen despite the fact that efforts are actually being put in to try and avert such scenarios?
Yes, and if you remember, the President spoke to this, and he said there's going to be a review of the law to tighten those gaps that have been existing. So, again, also the criminal justice system is an independent process. So we will be working together as a team to ensure that all these gaps are sealed, so that such individuals do not find themselves back in the community and continuing to do the kind of things they are doing, harming our children and putting everybody at risk by selling this kind of narcotics.
Simon, one of the greatest risks in this region, and you've just talked to it off camera, in Nandi County, is actually counterfeit products from neighboring counties. How then do we handle that?
Again, also during the presidential proclamation, he also mentioned that there's going to be a more emboldened border control management system. And that is also something that is going to help us deal with this issue. In the meantime, we are mopping up what has already been brought into the country, as we also secure the borders to ensure that there's no more alcohol from foreign countries that is finding its way into the country. But of course, we also have people who are manufacturing these illicit brews in this country. Specifically, hotspots are known, so we are on high alert and we are putting all these people on notice. We will not relent until we rid our country of this menace.
Worrying also is the fact that while we will nab this, the source of these people rarely talk about it. How then do we move to the next step in terms of ensuring that we actually close the source tab?
Remember, we even know where the plantations of these kind of things are. So in a very short while, you're also going to be seeing a lot of operations towards that, where we will be nipping these cultivation fields and uprooting all those plants. So there's going to be a lot of effort to make sure that we don't get the resupply and restock back in the country. Yes.
Definitely, Simon, these products are not being grown around here. We want to assume so, right? It has crossed several police roadblocks along the road before actually getting here. What exactly is happening that some of these people are able to, navigate through these border police roadblocks to get to their destination without actually being apprehended?
We are operating on intelligence and we are dealing with a lot of information, also from the public and from investigative agencies and security organs. So it is a concerted effort. We are going to be working very closely with anybody and the stakeholders who are involved in this security sector management, as well as the community, because in the long run, in as much as we concentrate on supply suppression, there's need to also do the demand reduction side of it. So there's need for rehabilitation centers for these people who are going to lack the supply in the market. So we are working closely with counties, and like the president said, there's going to be establishment of county rehabs, which are going to make these services free and not free but affordable, and if possible free, so that we also deal with the issues of the people who find themselves in this space and who need help. But as we proceed, we are calling on the public and all stakeholders to provide us with any information to be able to assist us nab these people who are conducting this illegal business in society.
Simon, our viewers are just seeing the officer behind. They hate to see the product, yes. And the reason why you guys came here. So probably we can just go in, so then you get to show us exactly what is in here. So then they don't, ask themselves, why are we not seeing the products that have actually been nabbed? Yes.
So we have this, and the reason why we have not touched this is because we are waiting for processing of this thing, so that we are able to even quantify what is here. As you can see, these are called tariffs, and these are packed like this, ready for the market. So what you have here is bang that is packaged in a way that
made in the USA.
Well, I think this is just the packaging. But this now can be processed and produce the rolls. So then we have what we call brooms. These are called brooms. These are what we call brooms. So these ones are also, so tariffs, these tariffs come from here. Okay? So this is where the tariffs are produced from. So these ones they are divided into a certain, quantity. Then they are rolled into these tariffs. Then we have twigs. If you look at this, you see that it is different in terms of the way it is presented. So this again is also processed, and they produce rolls out of this. Yes. So we're waiting for a team from the scenes of crimes to come and process this, and we'll be able to quantify and know how much this is, and also measure and the weighting. Yes.
But of course, without divulging much, this is an ongoing process that will actually happen. I wanted to ask where next, but of course that will be selling your.
Yes. We cannot disclose where we are going next, but of course there's going to be a lot of heightened activity to ensure that we nip the bud, these people who are conducting this business. And you see now, like this, the person who we are, who owns this place and who owns this stash is somebody who's very well known. They are trafficking, and it is not their first time. So we are working very closely to make sure that we bring them back to the court process.
Simon, just before we close, it is worrying that some of these and the selling points, this is a store, right?
Yes.
But we've actually walked around Ahero, and some of his selling points are just next to schools.
Yes. So we have that concern, and we are also pursuing, there's one that is directly opposite a school gate. And we believe strongly that the product is coming from the same person. But we are yet to establish that, and our teams are on high alert, and we are going to be apprehending all these people who are in this chain. Yes.
Thank you very much, Simon. That is Simon, the Deputy Corporate Director. NACAD, of course, just briefing us of exactly what has been happening since morning. This is the first stop. They've actually gained entry into a store where, of course, cannabis sativa is actually being stored. He says that the owner of this store just came out of prison a week ago, and of course he's already back into business, but he's saying that they are tightening their noose around such characters to ensure that indeed these activities are brought to a stop. Of course, this is something that we are actually going to keep a keen eye on and see exactly what is happening. We understand there are other raids that are actually going to happen. Of course, we cannot reveal much about it, but what we'll do is that we'll try as much as we can to try and capture what they'll be doing today, so that then we can actually brief our listeners and viewers in our subsequent bulletin. Back to you, Mike.
Emergency operation. I need to go now.
The president didn't answer the phone.
We've encountered this situation in China before. The doctor there sewed a biofilm on the patient's abdomen. After the swelling subsides, we can completely close the abdomen.
Xian came all the way here to see you. It's clear she's doing all she can do. What more do you want? Don't think she's weak and can't live without you.
What's wrong? I don't see Jiang Yao.
Did they disappear?
When I woke up at 5 a.m., I couldn't find Jiang Yao.
See and check over there.
Jiang Yao! Mama Juice! Jiang Yao!
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the streets.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
Street photographers. Nairobi's streets are alive, full of movement, color, and stories.
Amid the chaos, a group of street photographers capture life, frame by frame, a click at a time. But behind every photo lies a story of hustle, of creativity, and survival. Street photography has become a full-time job for many young people in Nairobi. Today, we follow the stories behind the cameras, how they started, how they operate, and what keeps them going.
Kamera mzuri, lazima ukuwe na pesa. Society uko nje bado wanachukulia photography ni kitu ya mchezo, unaona. Even though kuna watu wanapiga professional na inawalipa, but sasa sisi kama beginners ni ya kusustain, tunaona.
Sunrise to sunset, these photographers turn Nairobi's busy streets into living studios. Their work may seem ordinary, but through their lenses, the everyday becomes extraordinary.
And Good Morning Kenya gets to continue. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Vivian Dagwa. We now get into our health check segment. And today we will be talking about the agony of living with dysfunctional kidneys. And my guest today is a kidney warrior. Her name is Mary Wanjiko, and she will be letting us in on the journey and how living with dysfunctional kidneys has been for her. Welcome to the program, Mary. It's a pleasure to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you, Vivian.
You're doing well?
Yes, I am.
All right, I want you to take us back, I want you to take us through your whole journey, but let us begin with the very first points, whereby the symptoms. When exactly did you start feeling you're not okay, and how did that look like? What were the symptoms like before the diagnosis?
Okay, well, what I can say is that mine started with high blood pressure. Okay. And I would say it started with nose bleeding, which I didn't take seriously. I thought it was just normal. Then with time, I got a minor stroke, which still didn't hit like it was something serious at that time. And then in like a year into 8, that's now when I was diagnosed with kidney failure. Yeah. And that is in the year 2008.
Yeah. So how long had you had, these symptoms and, the ones that you've just mentioned before you got diagnosed in 2008?
Like for about 2 years. I would say 2 years, yes.
2 years without knowing what really is wrong?
No, just frequent headache, nose bleeding once in a while. Just that. Yeah. Nothing serious.
Yeah. How come it was diagnosed 2 years later? Is it that you were not going to hospital? Were the tests not being done? Or how come it took 2 years for it to be diagnosed?
No, actually I was going to the hospital. Yeah. But what they picked first was high blood pressure, which I was under medication for about 2 years. Yeah. Then in 2008, around, was it? I think in March, that's when I started getting sickly. I went to the hospital, and nothing much. They couldn't really tell because the kidneys failed in, was it in August? In August 2008. Yeah.
So your cause for the kidney failing or them being dysfunctional was due to the high blood pressure?
Most likely that's what the doctors think. But when you check on my file, there are normally so many question marks, because I didn't get to do a biopsy to tell exactly what caused the kidneys to fail. But that is one thing that they normally suspect caused the failure.
Yeah. All right, so now since then, how has that journey been? Since your diagnosis now in 2008, when you were told now you have your kidneys are failing, take us through that journey.
Well, it's been tough. When I was first told that my kidneys failed, I couldn't really come into terms exactly what that was. till now I went to Kenyatta and I started dialysis. I thought maybe it's something like maybe after a month. You know, every time when someone gets sick, you always have that hope you're going to get well.
Yes.
Little did I know this is like a sentence. Because now it's been the last now 18 years into it. I started dialysis, and 2 years into it, I did a transplant. That was in the year 2010.
Yeah.
My aunt, my mom's sister, is the one who donated for me. The kidney was the transplant was a success. But after 3 years, I lost the graft. And then I had to start again back on dialysis, which I did for a year. That was in the year 2013 to 2014. I did the transplant. I did dialysis for a whole year. Then I planned for a second transplant. But this time around, it was a bit complicated. No, what I didn't tell you, the first one, it was done in Kenyatta.
The transplant?
And it was a success.
Yeah.
3 years into it, it served me well. But unfortunately, things happened and it failed. I had to go back on dialysis for a year. Then in the year 2014, I started planning for a second transplant. And now that's when my mother stepped in and donated. Again, the transplant was very successful, though it's had a few challenges, but it was successful.
Yeah.
And it served me for another 3 years. But unfortunately, I got diagnosed with TB, but it took time because I was on immunosuppressants, so anything could hide like energy feature. So it took time before they could tell that I had miliary TB. By the time I went to India, already the kidney, the damage was irreversible. And unfortunately, in the year 2018, I lost the second kidney. And now since 2018 to today, I'm still on dialysis, but I'm hopeful for that transplant.
Yeah, so you've had 2 transplants.
Yes.
You know, they serve you for 3 years and then it relapses again.
Yeah, funny enough, the 2 times, they both served me for 3 years.
Is this a question you've asked your doctor? Is there a time frame to, you know, after you get a transplant, is this something that is common? Is it supposed to serve you for a particular time? Are these questions that you've gotten answers to?
Yes, I have, but a transplant doesn't have a timeline because it can serve you for as long as, it's all about God. Because I have friends who have had transplant for so long. I've also researched. There's someone who has had their transplant for more than 50 years.
Yeah.
So it's just life.
Yeah, there's no science behind it. It can work for this number of years, it can work for few, and then it gets to fail again. Okay, I hear you on that. So now, since 2018, you've been on dialysis to date.
Yes.
How is that like? You know, how many times do you go for your dialysis in a week?
I go for dialysis twice weekly for 4.5 hours. Every session lasts for about 4.5 hours. Yeah.
How does that affect your day-to-day life?
That's like a prison. I can't do anything. What I didn't tell you is that once, let me talk for myself, when my kidneys failed, actually let me give a scenario. From the year 2018 when my second graft failed, I don't pass urine. I don't pass urine at all. So my life depends on the machine. That's why I have to go for dialysis after every 3 days, because there is that fluid buildup, toxins in the system, they have to be removed, but that can only be done through dialysis.
So you don't pass urine at all?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. So what are the doctors saying in terms of what is needed to be done?
For me to live at least an almost normal life like any other person, I need to go for that transplant. Which cannot be done locally because it is complicated. It's a complex surgery, unlike the first one. Because due to the previous transplants and blood transfusion and all that, I've built a lot of antibodies. which is a challenge to the surgery. So before I do the transplant, they have first to work on the antibodies. Like it's like a blood reset. Like they clean the blood, but it's through a specialized kind of treatment known as plasmapheresis.
Yeah. So this is something that now can't be done in the country. So you need
For
to...
my case, it can't.
It can't.
Yeah. A
All right.
blood transplant, it's quite complex.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get into that so that you can let us in on, where exactly is this transplant supposed to happen and how maybe you can be helped through that, right? But I want us to get back to, just kidney dysfunction as a condition. What do you think is one thing people misunderstand about it? Because, with kidney, it's not... I can't see. I can't just look at you and tell that you are actually unwell. So maybe is there something that you feel people misunderstand about kidney disease that you would love them to know about it?
What I can tell people, actually as Africans, we have this culture of not going to the hospital for checkup. Yeah? Kidney disease is a silent, I would say a silent killer. It doesn't attack you in a day. It's progressive. Actually, by the time it's in several stages. Yeah. By the time it gets to around stage 4, you won't have any symptoms. You'll just wake up, feel tired, which is normal. And maybe after a few hours, you regain your strength and all that. So most people, you can never look at somebody and say that they have any symptoms of kidney disease unless it's from stage 4. Not when it's towards the end. That's not when they start swelling up. That's the only time you can tell. Because even when it comes to the urine output, it doesn't happen like immediately. That is towards the last stages, actually when you're on dialysis. Yeah. So I think people should maybe have that culture of going for body check. That's only, and actually it's a very simple test. With just the urine test, you can pick whether you have kidney disease or not. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easier when it's picked earlier.
It can be managed at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that someone who has dysfunctional kidneys, of course their diet now does not look the same as someone else who doesn't have that condition. So could you take us through your diet? What are the things that you're supposed to eat? What are you not supposed to eat? How does that look like?
I have a very horrible diet because most of the things that a normal person should be taking, they are normally restricted on my side. For example, like people, you'll be told, drink water every day. It is healthy for you. For me, water is death. Like in a day, I'm supposed to have a fluid restriction of about 500 ml.
In a day?
In a day. Let me take you what 500 ml entails. There's tea in the morning. There's that rice or ugali that I'll take. I have to make sure what do you call it?
Yeah. Your portion?
Not the portion. You see that rice is cooked with water. That ugali is cooked with water. If it's about stew, there is water in it. So this 500 ml from morning till evening, I have to take note of the 500 ml, not just that, like the fluid, like I'm drinking tea.
Yeah, so when we're talking about this 500 ml that is supposed to be your strict intake in a day, we're not just talking about water that you will go, take and you're supposed to limit it to. It's every kind of fluid that is entering your body.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that fluid you have to count, even when you're taking that rice, it was cooked with water. Yeah. Then when it comes to something like fruits, even when you go to visit a sick person, what is the first thing that you'll buy for them? Oranges, bananas.
Yeah, watermelon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me start with watermelon. Basically, it's water. So we have to be very cautious. When something like a banana, that is a death sentence to me. If I take a banana right now, I cannot last 30 minutes. I'll be gone.
Really?
Yeah, because of the potassium. Potassium it's excreted by the kidneys, but they're no longer functioning. Yeah. So it can knock off you any minute. So we're on a very, very strict diet, Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a diet that you have to abide to, like, strictly.
You have to.
As you mentioned.
You don't have a choice. You have to.
Yeah. So now I can imagine, you know, for someone who is not really aware of kidney disease and all of that, they really don't know, you know, what you're supposed to take in, what you're supposed to eat and all of that, and say it's a friend who's coming to visit you. Now they come with the bananas, you're not supposed to eat the bananas. They come with the watermelons, you know that, oh, the water in this will affect my intake of the day.
You're going to take a small portion. That's why once you're diagnosed with kidney failure, the first thing they will do, you'll go for counseling. And in that counseling panel, they'll get you a dietitian. A dietitian must be there because they have to take you through your diet. Yeah.
Now, speaking about, you know, you've brought in the counseling bit. You go through counseling sessions. You're taught about what you're supposed to eat, what you're not supposed to eat. But I'm trying to just imagine the mental disturbance it does to you, you know, because, you know, there's what we call like living a normal life. And then when you have a condition, say like yours, then it affects your day-to-day living, you know. So when it comes to your mental health, is this something that is also something that you're conversant with in terms of you have therapy, or how do you ensure that you're protecting your mental health?
Well, what happens with time, you get to, because this is something that you're going to live with. It's chronic. It's not going anywhere. So with time, you start coming to get into terms with your condition, try to understand it. Of course, it takes a toll on you. It torments you, but what do? You don't have a choice. No, this is here, the condition is here, the disease is here. What do I do? So you start learning how to live with it. It's not easy, but you don't have a choice.
Yeah. Do you have a support group that maybe...
Yeah, I would say yes, I have a supportive system. My family and friends, they do support me.
Yeah. How important is that support for someone with such a condition, living with something that is chronic?
It is very, very important. Even if you won't go, there's nothing you can, like, you don't know what to tell that person. Just show up. Being there for them, it helps us a lot, you know, because most of the time you are seated there by yourself. You get to be immersed in a pool of thoughts, you know, like, this is it. At the same time, you've seen your friends suffer, you've lost some of them on the way. So you don't know what happens next. Is it me? You don't know. Because this is a condition you're living with. And it's not like something that in the next 1 week will disappear. So we need that support system.
So for anyone
sometimes we may not ask for it, but deep down our heart, we need it. Even if you don't have to say anything to me, just show up. That is enough therapy.
So for anyone who has maybe a family member or a friend who is dealing with a chronic issue like, you know, kidney failure, what you'd say to them is just show up.
Exactly.
Just show up for this person.
Just show up for them. They might not have that strength or to, and you know, funny enough, once you stay with a condition for long, we tend to think maybe you are a bother to people. Sometimes you don't want to burden them with your issues. Already you feel like they have given a lot. So we might not ask for that support. But if you can, just show up in whatever way that you can. Just show up for that friend or that relative.
Now, let's talk about the expense of this condition. Because I understand that, you know, when someone is going for dialysis, each session is not less than 7,500. There are hospitals that it's 7,500. There are hospitals that is 9,500. So let's talk about the cost of living with this condition, and how are you managing? Is insurance working for you? Just talk us through that.
Yeah, what I can say is that dialysis is a very expensive affair. And it drains someone and also drains the family a lot. I can say right now, at least SHA is covering for dialysis 2 sessions a week. One session is at a standard of 10,650.
It's actually more than what I was saying.
Yeah, it's 10,650. Yeah. And sometimes you might require that extra session, which you have to cough and pay in cash. Personally, like myself, when I got sick, I was very young. And there is no insurance that can take up my case. None. I've tried all of them. To me, I'm a liability. They know this is a chronic disease. Akuna.
Yeah.
So
they outright just refuse to take up your case?
They do. Yeah, they do. I've tried. And you can imagine, now there are those people, before now, let's assume you've been diagnosed today. Before, when you get to the hospital, you didn't even know what was wrong. You don't know you need dialysis. Let me tell you, it is a hassle. Raising 10,650 twice weekly, it's not a joke. It's a lot of money. And then again, there are some other medications that you'll need. There are blood boosters. When you are on dialysis, your blood levels tend to be very low because the kidneys are not working. Those blood boosters, they are very expensive. In a week, you'll find yourself spending almost 5,000. So you can imagine. And then also you have other medications, the antihypertensive for high blood pressure, the other people who are diabetic. And not just that, like in my case, because of the long stay on dialysis, I've developed a bone disease. It's a mineral disorder. So those those binders, they're expensive, my friend. In a month, I spend over 20K. So you can imagine, I'm on high blood pressure medication, I'm on those binders, very, very expensive. It's an expensive disease. Back in the days, it used to be associated like the disease for the rich, but it's not for the rich. Actually, the reason why they used to say it's for the rich is because the poor could not get to the hospital. You see?
And they could not sustain, getting their medication.
Leave alone sustain. Even getting to the hospital by the time you are diagnosed that you have kidney failure. You see, when you're starting dialysis, the doctors will tell you, we need to insert the access from where they will be dialyzing you. That alone itself, it's around 80,000. So you get to the hospital, it's all like 80K. Where will you get that money? So you decide, let me just go back home and wait. But back now the rich could afford. That's why this disease used to be associated with the rich. But it's not for the rich people. Right now it's affecting everybody. If you go to the hospital, from the youngest to the oldest.
It has no age limit. It has no,
it doesn't have
class.
No.
It can affect anyone and everyone. All right. So how would you say this experience has reshaped your perspective of life?
You see, when they said you live a day at a time, this is what this disease has taught me. And if there's something that I really, you see, when people are working hard to get money, to live large, that good lifestyle, which is a good thing, I'm striving to see tomorrow. My goal is to wake up tomorrow because tomorrow is not promised. So that's when you say, personally, I live a day at a time. If the day ends and I'm not sick, all praises to God. Because anything can happen.
Okay, before we come to a conclusion, you let us know when maybe are you already scheduled for the next transplant. But before that, maybe for someone who's watching us and they've just been diagnosed with kidney failure, so they are still very new on this journey, they've just started doing their dialysis, what would be your word to them, being that you've been doing this for the last 18 years? 18 years. So what would be your word to that person who's just been diagnosed and is just starting with their dialysis now?
Mine will be to encourage them, do not give up, embrace it, accept it, accept this condition is here. Because the first stage towards healing is acceptance. Once you accept it, it's going to help you. Also, try to look for people with a similar condition so that you can encourage each other. You know, sometimes when you stay alone, you feel as if you are the only person who has been affected by this condition. But when you look for other people, you get to get testimonies. There are people who have lived for so long, they are still fighting. But the end goal is keep on fighting. Do not give up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you are supposed to get the third transplant. You're supposed to undergo your third transplant.
Yes.
Now, let us in on that. You know, do you already have a hospital that you're supposed to go to? Do you already have a scheduled date? Are there expenses that need to be, you know, maybe covered? Just let us in on that.
Yes, I'm hoping for that transplant, God willing, this year. A date has not been scheduled. Reason being that I'm still looking for finances. This being a that transplant, it's a very, very costly affair. As I've told you, there's a procedure that I have to undergo before the transplant. And due to my previous 2 transplants, I've built a lot of antibodies. And if I decide to go for a transplant, before that one is taken care of, the kidney will automatically reject when on the surgery table. So I have to go through plasmapheresis. And for my case, my transplant, I'm talking about my case, can only be done in India. Even the doctors here have given me a go-ahead. They said my case, they cannot be handled locally because it's very sensitive. So it requires people who have handled such cases before. So I need to go to India, and I'm looking for finances. So I'm feeling for support because I need around almost 15 million for this.
15 million Kenyan shillings. Yeah.
And people might be wondering why that much. It's because of that plasma exchange, which is very, very costly. Yeah. Like more than half of the money will be going for that treatment. Yeah.
All right, so you definitely need as much support as possible.
And also to the government. Let me address the government because I'm here. They cancelled the overseas treatment, kidney transplant treatment for adults. How they concluded that adults don't need transplant out of the country, I don't know. Like my case cannot be handled here, me and other people. There are also people with lupus. Their cases cannot be handled here. So if the government can all step in, it would make the burden less. And easier.
Yeah. All right, so since you clearly need a lot of support when it comes to the finances,
Yes, I do.
you know, raising 15 million is not easy. So how about you, like, mention how, for someone who's watching and maybe would love to assist in one way or the other, how do they get to reach you? How do they get to chip in?
Okay, for someone who would want to support me, my phone number is 0720 000 841. Mary Wanjikonjeri. That's my number.
Now you can repeat the number.
My number is 0720 000 841. Mary Wanjikonjeri. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, through that number they can be able to reach you.
Yes.
And also if you feel like you would love to chip in to help with her treatment, then you can actually do that. I believe the number is on the screen. It is right there on your screen. So you can assist Mary so that she can at least be able to live a normal life, you know, a normal life with no pain and with no agony and all of that. So Mary, as we finish this conversation, what gives you hope for the future?
The fact that I know that I can wake up tomorrow and keep on fighting for my life. That's enough. Is enough. Yeah.
All right. I'll allow you to give us final remarks, final words, maybe.
Well, what I can say is thank you so much for hosting me and also for giving me a platform to share my story and also to encourage someone who is out there who might be going through a hard time. Yeah, I can tell them that do not give up. There is hope for tomorrow. Yeah.
There's always hope for tomorrow.
There's always hope for
I
tomorrow.
love that you are hopeful. I love that you are, you know, you are ready to take on, you know, this fight and keep fighting. So all the best even when you go for the transplant. I'm sure it's going to happen sooner rather than later, and you're going to be all right.
Thank you so much.
All right, this is where we end this conversation. Thank you so much for staying with us. That was Mary Wanjiko, who is a kidney warrior. If you can be able to extend that hand and assist her, the number is right there on our screens. You can be able to assist her so that she can be able to also lead a normal life, as I mentioned earlier. Do not go too far. We'll be having another health conversation right here on the show, and this time Ryan will be talking about cervical cancer or cervical cancer. That's what we'll be talking about, so don't go too far. We'll be back in a bit.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form. 2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
Emergency operation. I need to go now.
The president didn't answer the phone.
We've encountered this situation in China before. The doctor there sewed a biofilm on the patient's abdomen. After the swelling subsides, we can completely close the abdomen.
Shan came all the way here to see you. It's clear she's doing all she can do. What more do you want? Don't think she's weak and can't live without you.
What's wrong? I don't see Jiang Yao.
Did they disappear?
When I woke up at 5 a.m., I couldn't find Jiang Yao.
See and check over there.
Jiang Yao, Mama Joseph! Jiang Yao!
And we get to continue right now. I am pleased to be having a doctor with us on set that will be letting us in on all matters cervical cancer. That is Dr. Wachira Murage, who is an obstetrician gynecologist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivian. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show. Let's get into matters cervical cancer as we just work towards spreading the awareness on it. Let's begin with what exactly cervical cancer is and maybe how it develops.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Cervical cancer is a cancer involving, it's a malignancy. So it's a cancer involving the lowermost part of the uterus, which is called the cervix. And that area is the entrance from the vaginal cavity just before you get to the uterus. That organ there called the cervix. That is where cancer of the cervix develops. And it's a slow process cancer that develops over quite a number of years. Let's say about 10 to 15 years.
10 to 15
so if I isolate one cell that is going to be cancer of the cervix, it takes about 10 to 15 years to become cancer. And this is why we always insist on screening, regular screening, because you're able to catch that cancer that develops from that area, taking a long time, being influenced by various factors, among them sexuality and other viral infections that now transform it, and then it becomes cancer of the cervix. Yes.
Yeah, so that, are there specific causes of it? You mentioned sexuality, but are there specific causes that can be pointed out as this is the cause of cervical cancer?
We are lucky because cancer of the cervix is one of the cancers that we almost over 90% know the causes. And the cause basically is normally human papilloma virus. And when you're looking at cancer of the cervix, because there could be other factors, maybe amounting to about, say, about 10 to 5%. But HPV, which is sexually transmitted, is what we now know is cause of the cancer of the cervix. In fact, we kind of classifying cancer of the cervix as a sexually transmitted cancer because of the HPV. So we are looking at now other factors, now things like sexuality now. We're looking at, the age of starting sexuality, the number of partners, and other alternative sexual practices. All those now are considered to be risk factors for the causation of cancer of the cervix. And that's why you find now you have even very young patients that are coming up with the cancer of the cervix, depending on the onset of sexuality and the number of partners that they've been able to engage in. That now becomes a single-most factor when you're thinking about the causes of cancer of the cervix.
Okay. So does it mean that now the males are the carriers of it, or how is it? What is the involvement with sex and cervical cancer?
Yes, the males now become, when they have now that virus, then they transmit it as a sexually transmitted infection.
Okay.
So when they do that and they transmit it to the ladies, and then it starts now to destroy the cell. From one cell, replicates, just like we said, one cell replicates into another one, then they colonize most of the cells at the cervix, and therefore now it takes over as cancer of the cervix. So males now you'll be the carriers, they'll transmit the HPV as an STI, as a sexually transmitted infection to the lady, and then it will destroy. Of course, we have so many HPV viruses, and therefore now we have what we call the high risk subtypes of HPV. Among them 16, 18, 31. So those ones are now, and others are now known to be now the high risk, because there are others that cause things like the warts, and other viral infections. But now there are those high risk factors. When we isolate those ones, then we become a bit more vigilant when you're trying to follow up those patients with those high risk HPV types. Yeah.
I know there's the HPV vaccine. We'll get into that. Because cancer of the cervix is one of the cancers that can be prevented because there's a vaccine for it. But let's talk about the early signs. How can one tell that probably I might be having cervical cancer? What are the early signs that one can look out for?
Just like listeners out there who are listening to us, to know that cancer of the cervix is very, very common in this country. We are having about 35 people per 100,000, 35 women per about 100,000 women, having cancer of the cervix. And it causes about, close to 3,500 deaths per year. So it's important that we take cognizance of the fact that cancer of the cervix is now overtaking many other cancers. Coming back, Vivian, to your question about what would be the early signs, most of the time when it is developing, it is symptomless. You don't feel anything. Then sometimes people may start complaining of some low back pains and pelvic pains. Others now, as it progresses, they start saying, oh, sometimes I see some foul-smelling vaginal discharge, and sometimes it may have some blood stains, the vaginal discharge. Others, of course, now you start saying, okay, I do get irregular sort of menses, bleeding between periods. And when I engage sexually, then I get some spotting, what we call post-coital bleeding or spotting. Because at that particular time, when the cancer is touched, then it tends to bleed. So there's that abnormal bleeding. Then, of course, I say the foul-smelling discharge. And, of course, now there is the pain that may come with it. But abnormal bleeding, abnormal vaginal discharge, especially blood stains, are the telltale signs of cancer of the cervix.
When it comes to screening, who is supposed to go for screening? By who I mean, at what age should we start going for the cervical cancer screening?
What we normally say is that anyone who has been sexually active, whether once or whatever number of times, as long as one now has engaged sexually, then they are amenable for screening of cancer of the cervix. So we don't, and this goes even up to in menopause. Yes, it's a bit slow in menopause, but we say that cancer of the cervix grows slowly. And therefore, if one is in menopause, they are 50, maybe they are 60 or 65, and maybe they started developing their cancer at age 50 or something, then it may get them at that age. So even in menopause, it is good to be doing regular checkup, at least every 3 years, to be doing at least a checkup, either the VIA villi or the pap smear or the HPV DNA.
Every 3 years at
every
least.
3 years. But now what you're advocating is every 2 years. And if one does a number of times every 2 years, then they can, of course, now jump into every 3 years. But that regularity is what we are calling upon women. As long as they're sexually active, even if they were sexually active, then they stopped, then they are amenable for screening to that particular duration. Every 2 years is what we recommend.
Let's talk about the prevention, because as we mentioned, this is a cancer that can be prevented completely. So there's a vaccine. You can be vaccinated against, HPV. So let's talk about the vaccine.
Yes. Of course, generally, when you're talking about prevention of cancer of the cervix, before we even go to the vaccine, we are talking about knowing that it is sexually transmitted, and therefore behavioral kind of approach is very, very important. To know that it comes from, from sexuality and issues of multiple partners and, starting sexuality early and all those other things that go with the behavior. Be it things like alcohol, be it, all those things. Therefore, protective sex is very, very important. And that kind of behavior, when it comes to that approach, becomes very, very very key in prevention of cancer of the cervix. When you're talking about the vaccination, and it's good to mention that it works. Whatever may go around the vaccination, the politics and what people say, studies done, clinical trials done all over the world shows that the vaccine works. It prevents causation of cancer of the cervix. And who should get this vaccination? Best is before the onset of sexuality. And that's why you find, like the government would say, by age 10, all our young girls And indeed boys, because we tend to forget the boys. It's only that not so much emphasis, because the HPV can also cause things like cancer of the penis in the young boys. Yeah, so they should also be vaccinated. But I know we're more or less speaking about the girls.
The ladies, yeah.
Yeah, so age 10 is a very, very important age before the onset of sexuality, because studies done, Kenya Demographic Service, done earlier, the health survey, had pointed out that our girls are starting sexuality quite early, by age 12. They're already indulging, and therefore that is now the particular age, 9, 10 years. And it's indeed the government has done a very good job. It's going on in schools, and they are getting. So that one is important. But it is important to mention that time it's very, very effective. Of course, the effectivity reduces when the vaccination is given after the onset of sexuality. But any lady, whether sexually active or not sexually active, can get the vaccination. And why is it important even after the onset of sexuality? It is because the HPV types are so many. So a lady could have gotten maybe a portion of some of the types and maybe not others. The vaccination, you're not helping the ones that have already gotten into the lady. But the ones that they have not gotten, then the vaccination comes in handy to prevent the onset of those viruses.
Yeah. I don't know if this is still ongoing, but there was a time when the vaccination, the HPV vaccination for the younger girls was free of charge. So is it still free? Is there a cost to it right now?
It is free. The government facilities is a free vaccination. It's even done in schools now. Yeah, the ministry is ensuring that even in schools it's going on. So it's free. Of course, in the private sector, it's it's chargeable, but it is free in the government clinics, and the young girls can get it's recommended age 9, 10, even up to around 12 before the onset. We are trying to catch them before the onset of sexuality. Yeah, but even thereafter, whenever they are available, they can still get the vaccination. It's only that the effectiveness declines, when sexuality has started.
Okay, so for every young girl, small girl out here, the parents can easily just take them to any public facility for the vaccine.
For the vaccine.
All right, that is well noted.
Yes.
So why is it still an issue? Why is still cervical cancer an issue in this region and in the country, to be specific, despite it having, a preventable measure? Is it that we are not aware that there's the vaccine, or why is it an issue? Because as you mentioned earlier, the numbers are going higher. 35 people per 100,000 that you had mentioned, and we can easily take it to 0. So why are we not yet there?
Okay, there's so many factors, and one of the things we would want to call out our parents, the parents of these girls, is to take them for vaccination, because there's lots of politics about the vaccination. And what you realize is that when those teams come, the Ministry of Health teams come to the schools, many parents decline. Because they have to feel a consent. They have to say they consent for the young girls, because of course they're under 18. They have to feel consent, but most of the parents refuse. And we would call upon at this juncture to encourage the parents to allow those girls to undergo the vaccination, because the vaccination helps to prevent cancer of the cervix in the long run. Of course, there'll be other things like pap smears and all, but of course it's a very, very good way and very, very proven way scientifically to prevent cancer of the cervix. Back to your question, it's a multifactorial question to say why is it that, yes, you're still having cases of cancer of the cervix, you're increasing despite having the vaccination free. One of the things is that the politics. You remember there was some bit of politics, involving the church and, all those other organizations that were talking about the cancer of the cervix having many problems. Like number one, people are saying, the girls are being sterilized, so they not have children. We would call upon people and various organizations to at least help people understand that just like other vaccinations, this vaccination, the HPV vaccination helps to save lives. It has no those side effects that are being talked about. I know many people would talk about, I know even doctors who discuss it, but it is proven. And the science is there to back the vaccination, and it helps. But of course now, because of the people are talking, the influences, there was a lot of fear put in the parents, and they were not sure what's I mean, yeah. It's good to say that it doesn't have, it may have some side effects like maybe itchiness, fever and such things. Some people may have allergy against proteins. And when you have allergy with proteins, then you may scratch here and there. But overall, it does not have those other side effects that were being talked about, like sterilizing. It was being said we are sterilizing our girls so they don't have children. I mean, we know we have ladies who have had the vaccination, and they have children. Yeah, so it is that, wave of people talking so much about the vaccination and people being selfish and all those things that really stigmatized the vaccination. But the vaccination works.
But then why all this politics around it? As you mentioned, it is effective, it works.
Yes.
So why do we still have people who are against it and, talking about it's used to sterilize the girls? Why do you think there's that politics around it? It's a good thing, so why is there politics around it?
I would say it's not clear, but I would also say that, it really sounds selfish. People are just selfish, I do think, and they want to prove a point, and some were even sponsored, I think, by, drug companies. There's a lot of infights with the drug companies because the various vaccinations, there are various types of those vaccinations from different companies, so there were wars against this, and I think some people are never paid. And of course, there was the issue of the church, members and some different faith and beliefs. Yeah, there were all those mixture of things. They never came out clear why there was this fight, but it was very clear that, different faiths were trying to bring in their own things, their selfishness, and of course there was that fight of the drug the multinationals, trying to compete against which one is best and that and all those things.
Yeah. So you are assuring us of its effectiveness.
Yes, it works. That one I can vouch that the vaccination for HPV prevents death, saves lives, and reduces the mortality and the morbidity of the cancer of the cervix. And that's not cost-related because you have girls that had it and they have children and they're happily married and they had the vaccination. And people are continuing to embrace, this vaccination, young women in families, and they're having children and they don't have any big problem. So it works.
All right. So for any lady who's watching us right now and would love to get the vaccine, you mentioned it doesn't, the age doesn't matter. Even if you're 50, you can just go get the vaccine and it would still work for you.
It will still work, but let's encourage the mothers, the young girls, before the onset of sexuality. That's the best time it works because it will kind of cover most of them. When you're already engaged sexually, you may contract some viruses, and therefore those ones that one gets will not be protected against by the vaccination. So it's better early, but generally all women are amenable for the vaccination.
Okay. There's the question on, I know you've already told us how one can get the cervical cancer, but there's always the question of hereditary. Say my grandmother had it, am I at a higher risk of getting it, or is it just purely sexually transmitted?
Yes, cancer of the cervix is largely, HPV related. So hereditary, really, it's not a major factor here. Yeah, in medicine you say, you don't say never, because of course there is the immunity makeup of a person. How do they resist diseases? If it is that viral infection, the HPV, how can they resist? So there's that genetic makeup of people. So you can't fail to mention at the end of the list when you're talking about the behavior, sexuality, the HPV and all, you can't fail to mention hereditary at the end of the list. But largely, sexuality and HPV is the major cause of cancer of the cervix.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about now for those who have this condition or disease, how to go about their treatment options.
Yes. Treatment option, of course, starts from history. So when we have a patient with all this symptomatology and we do think they may have cancer of the cervix, normally what we do is that we normally start with examination, all right, and via villi, which again is available, because pap smear may be a little bit expensive, but via villi. And we want to encourage the listeners, wherever they are, the health centers, those hospitals near you are able to do via villi. And it is almost as effective as pap smear. Then they're able to refer you for a pap smear if the via villi is suggestive of cancer of the cervix. So once you make a diagnosis, then there is the issue of making the diagnosis by histology. So we will normally examine the patient, and if we get a lesion, then we get a piece of that. So we do what is called EUA staging and biopsy. EUA is examination and anesthesia, because you want to see. You've already seen a lesion, okay? And that lesion, you need to get a piece of tissue from there, and then you take it. Then you assess what is the growth, how does it grow, because cancer of the cervix is staged. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, there's A and B, depending on the lateral, the way it spreads, either horizontally or going up, is the way it is staged A and B. But you're talking about stage 1, 2, 3. Stage 1, basically, in simple terms, is just within the cervix. Stage 2, it has moved out of the cervix a bit. Stage 3, it has gone to the bladder and going up to near the kidney, the ureters. And then stage 4, it has gone to the tissues around, the what you call the peritoneum around. It can go to other areas. Okay, that is now stage 4. So once you have now made the staging, then you can be able now to say, how do I plan my treatment? Stage 1, basically up to stage 2A, that one surgery can be done. Surgery followed by radiotherapy and chemo. But from stage 2B going onwards, you cannot operate, because you cannot get the extent of the cancer. You may probably do surgery to a certain margin, and maybe the cancer has gone beyond that margin. So those ones, you need better and wider coverage. And therefore now you use chemotherapy, that is the drugs, and then you can use radio, because you now map out and you're able to irradiate a certain large area for that. The other people who we do get that have very, very early cancer. For example, you may get a girl of 22, 24 years, and they have a very early cancer, what we call carcinoma in situ. The cancer is just localized. There are some few cells that are growing into cancer. Of course, the ultimate is surgery, but sometimes we may do a localized surgery that may attempt to remove the bigger portion. Yeah, so there are things like now cone biopsy. Yeah, you can have things like using very ice, it's called cryotherapy. So you can remove, and then of course you can cut a portion, it's called LETs, you can cut a portion of that area, and then you follow up. So there are all those recommendations. But cancer of the cervix, that's why we really insisting on that screening and follow up. Largely stage 1 is almost 100% curable.
Okay.
You can actually cure it if you get it early. So there are all those now, cauterization, you can have that, cryosurgery for early lesions. Early lesions, you can do that. You have cone biopsy, and then of course you can do LETs, you can just cut a piece of that area, and then you monitor using the HPV DNA. You can monitor using the pap smear. But the earlier you get the cancer, the better. Even in terms of survival rates. Because as you say, generally cancer, you talk about prognosis. You don't talk about curing. Although we are saying stage 1, you can cure, but generally cancer, you talk of prognosis. And the earlier the stage, the better the survival rate.
Yeah. There's the question on whether it affects fertility.
Yes, cancer of the cervix can affect fertility because, of course, if there's a lesion there, things like, sexuality will not happen. Of course, it will cause infection. It will even block the cervix. But when you're talking about fertility, you're talking of other things like infection, tubal blockage, ovulation, hormones. As opposed to cancer of the cervix. But cancer of the cervix, yes, it contributes to infertility.
You were talking about, whether it's curable or not curable. Most times when someone is diagnosed with cancer, sometimes we look at it as a death sentence.
Yes.
And that has been the case for the longest time. When someone says they have cancer, if it's a family member, you're already worried because you think, oh, now, how long are they going to live? What's the time, the time frame they will be on Earth and all of that. But I would love for you to just speak on it being curable, or the curability, if there's that word, how curable it is and how manageable it is for you to be able to also still lead a long life.
So we look at prognosis, and prognosis is what is the survival rate, kind of, in layman terms, the survival rate. Okay. So you're talking about now, and I know there's this thing about, our country and generally about cancer. You hear people talking about, oh, he was given only 6 months to live, he was only given 1 year to live, and those kind of things, 2 weeks. We have heard so many stories like those ones. But it all has to do with the staging. So stage 1, you can have even 90 to 100 people surviving. Then it comes down. When you're talking about stage 2, then you come down and you're talking about maybe 70 to 85. When you're talking now stage 3, you're talking now about 50. And this one is about 5-year survival rate. Yeah, 5-year survival rate. So stage 3, you're talking about 50% may get to 5 years. When you're talking about stage 4, then you're coming down and saying about maybe less than 40% or 30% will not survive the 5 years. Yes, because there is a treatment, then they are treated, then you find that now it reoccurs. And normally when cancer of the cervix reoccurs, it comes with a bang, because it has gone to the next stage. So if it was stage 3, now you find it has come up, now it has spread to other areas. You cannot now do a lot of things. Most of the time you use chemotherapy and occasionally radiotherapy, but chemotherapy is the commonest modality that is used when it heads to recur. And then of course now it has gone to other areas. It has changed from the lower staging to the other staging, and therefore now it reduces. Yeah, but generally that is now how you can talk about the survival rate.
Yeah. Speaking about reoccurrence, what is the reoccurring rate? Is it something that it normally happens? What's the rate of reoccurring?
It happens quite a lot, and especially stage 3 and 4, you will find that most of those cancers, almost to about 70% will recur within the 5 years. You find it recurring and require more aggressive treatment. Sometimes it may recur and it comes to and recurs and it's more localized. So sometimes the doctors may decide to do a bit of surgery, just to debulk, to remove that, because you see, once the cancer forms a focus, it is that from that focus now it spreads to other areas. So if it recurs, then you can decide to do sort of a surgery, remove that focus, and then give things like chemotherapy. Yeah, but the recurring is normally not a good sign. It's normally not a good thing, because it shows now the cancer now has come, and when it comes with a lot of force. But yes, stage 3 and 4, the rate of recurrence is quite high. Yeah.
So for someone who had, say, I'm just looking at a scenario, right? For someone who had stage 1 cancer, got to go through the treatment option that is available for that, was healed from that, would you advise them to get the vaccine to avoid reoccurring or recurring, or?
No, the
would that
vaccine.
help?
The vaccine may not be amenable.
Okay.
Yeah, because you already now have the cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, so the vaccine will not help. So no matter what we just look out for is the recurrence. Is now the follow-up and close follow-up. Of course, we have other people whose recurrence is very high, like people with disease like HIV. Yeah, other immune-reducing conditions may worsen and may bring the recurrence rate quite high. But of course now the vaccination, when you already have the cancer, may not serve any purpose.
All right, as we conclude on our conversation, you've talked about several treatment options available for all the stages of cervical cancer. Are all these available in the country?
Yes, they are. And I would advocate that we do not try and go out there to seek for other modalities. We have everything. We even have now doctors trained. We have gynecologists like myself trained. They are called oncogynecologists. They are quite a number now in the market, and therefore people do not have to go out there. All those modalities, starting from the surgical expertise, what you call colposcopy to look at the changes in the cervix, to those minor surgeries using radiotherapy or using the heat to try and chop the part of the cervix, the cone, coming all the way to chemotherapy. There are doctors available for chemotherapy. There are doctors available even for radiotherapy. The radio oncologists, they are all available in this country. I know sometimes it's a challenge. The government is trying. At the moment, I know it's only maybe Kenyatta National Hospital that may be able to offer this advanced radiotherapy. But now the treatment is available locally.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so very much
you.
for always sharing your knowledge right here on the show with us. We appreciate.
Thank you.
This is where we end this conversation. Thank you so very much for staying with us from the moment the show began until this point in time. On behalf of everyone who has made it a success, we say thank you and we wish you a lovely day. Goodbye.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form. 2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
Emergency operation. I need to go now.
The president didn't answer the phone.
We've encountered this situation in China before. The doctor there sewed a biofilm on the patient's abdomen. After the swelling subsides, we can completely close the abdomen.
Xian came all the way here to see you. It's clear she's doing all she can do. What more do you want? Don't think she's weak and can't live without you.
What's wrong? I don't see Jiang Yao.
Did they disappear?
When I woke up at 5 a.m., I couldn't find Jiang Yao.
Etsy and check over there.
张友，妈妈就是。张友。
An increasing number of people across the globe are affected by extreme weather events. Forest fires, earthquakes, or floods can and have changed lives irrevocably. But how can we be better prepared for these natural disasters? And which smart tech solutions can help us with that? Extreme weather conditions are causing natural disasters, making precise weather forecasts even more crucial. They can warn us in advance when